Middle Relief. Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now, let's go to the bullpen. Here's Mario Jerez and Matt Musso.
And welcome in to the inaugural edition of Middle Relief with Mario and Musso. We'll be hosting this program Monday through Friday, 12 to 3 p.m., at least for the foreseeable future. I am Mario Jerez. Listeners of this station may know me as the producer of Off the Bench in the morning, and you guys also know the man to my left, who is Matt Musso, producer of After Further Review every single day. Musso, I'm thrilled to be sharing this studio with you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm ready to have some fun and go at this for however long we get to do it, and we're gonna knock it out. And we got a lot of things to cover for a first show. I mean, for it being June, there's plenty of things to get going on.
And I think you pretty much just nailed what I want our show to be, kind of the vision. We're going to inform people. We're going to let y'all know what's going on, all the happenings, national LSU sports, but we're also going to have a lot of fun and do what you just said. So lots to cover today on the inaugural edition. Paul Menari will retire. LSU is in the NCAA tournament after a little bit of doubt there, but the Tigers continue to play on, and we got some fans wilding out at sporting events all over the country.
I mean, what's happening? Goodness gracious.
Yeah,
calm down. Just take a chill pill. It's all right.
It's bad. We're all just trying to enjoy ourselves. So we're going to get to all of that. But first, really quick, Musso, as I said, most people listening to this station and listening to this show know a little bit about you and what you're about. But for those who don't, tell them a little bit about the background of Matthew Musso.
Yeah, so, I mean, graduated from the manship school at LSU and have been here really ever since that. So produced OTB, AFR, both of those things actually twice. Host a podcast, daily podcast every day, Moose with the Box, presented by Patient Plus Urgent Care. And now hang out with Mario here for a couple hours each week.
An awesome producer. Helped train me when I got to Guarantee Media.
You.
Does a really good job on the ones and twos and getting everything ready for Moscona. Also does a great job on the mic. Most of y'all already know that. You'll continue to learn that as we go forward with this show. So just to learn a little bit about me real quick, I'm also a graduate of the Manship School. Shout out to LSU and the Mass Comm program. I'm also the Spanish play-by-play voice of the LSU football team, as well as the New Orleans Saints on a local station in New Orleans. Also air the games in Baton Rouge. And I've also worked as a producer here at Guarantee Media for the last 2 years, and I've filled in as a host. And now me and Musso have our own show, and we are our own hosts. So let's dive in. Very, very busy weekend for LSU sports and obviously for LSU baseball. Paul Menari will retire. We know about what he's done at LSU, Musso. The legacy for Paul Menari is one that's really, I think, kind of hard to put into words when you talk about taking over for Smoke Laval. Things weren't good. He got this program back to the top of college baseball, obviously has the ring from 2009. But when you look at Paul Menari and what he did at LSU, 39 years in coaching, 15 at LSU, won 30 team championships with the Tigers, NCAA Regional, College World Series appearances. He's done everything, and I know he's really proud of the fact that out of 133 kids to play for Paul Menari, 132 of them graduated. So we'll get into Paul Menari and your favorite memories with him and his legacy and what he has to do to get this team ready to hopefully make an NCAA tournament run. But Musso, were you surprised at the timing of Paul Menari's announcement on Friday?
A little bit at first, but I think it made sense at the same time. It's just that it's something that had been brewing, so maybe you thought it might be a little earlier. A lot of times when coaches do retire and they announce it prior, it's earlier in the year or maybe even before the season. That didn't happen here, but it came at a good time because now it can serve as motivation and it can get the decision off of his head and he can just focus on coaching his team into the NCAA tournament, and they have a really good shot to make a run here. They got in fairly easily, really, not part of the last four in like many thought they would be, and they're going to go out to the West Coast again, but the draw, while not a cakewalk, is easier than many thought, or more, I should say, more favorable than many thought that it could be when LSU was sitting on the bubble, so to speak. So it could loosen the whole team up. And I think that's something that is in favor of them with the timing of the announcement.
hopefully that's what it does. And I'm not surprised that this is Paul Menari's last season or that he's making this announcement. But maybe at the time I was a little bit surprised, but it's been a tough couple of years for LSU for not even baseball-related reasons. But with everything this program's had to go through the last 2 years with the pandemic and with Paul Menari's kind of physical ailments as he gets older in age, I think that was a big part of the decision. So hopefully Paul Menari has a really, really happy life ahead of him post-baseball. But first, one more NCAA tournament run. And I got to tell you, Musso, when I heard this announcement from Paul Menari and confirmed that he's still going to be coaching LSU in the NCAA tournament, the first thought that came into my mind was Florida State, Mike Martin, the run that the Seminoles made a couple of years ago. And we had Eric Sorensen of D1 Baseball on the show this morning with T-Bob and Hester. And
Love Stitchhead. Love him.
He does a great job. And he was reminiscing on that Florida State team, and he was comparing it to this current LSU team. And he was saying kind of the same, didn't have a good conference record, but Florida State was around 60 RPI, and in Sorensen's opinion, not the same quality baseball team as LSU. So that gives me a little bit of optimism, hoping Paul Menari and the boys can make one more run a la Mike Martin at Florida State.
No, and I think I think it's a good comparison just because of, everything you said. Florida State that year, they had some guys on that team. They had guys who are in minor league organizations right now and working their way up those organizations. C.J. Van Eyck, their ace, was very good. Drew Mendoza, their third baseman, was a force in the lineup. J.C. Flowers was good. Drew Parrish was a good player as well. So much like LSU, they had talent. It just didn't necessarily turn in the greatest regular season. But when they got in to the NCAA tournament and they had an opportunity to play for their coach, and it was even more with Mike Martin because Mike never got over the hump and won the championship. In Florida State, for as solid of a baseball program as that they've been, they have the unenviable distinction of being the team with the most appearances in Omaha without winning a national title. So even to that extent, they were able to play loose. They were able to, look, that team came through Baton Rouge in a super regional. Tiger fans should remember that well. They were loose. That team knew that, you know what, we're here to play for our coach. We're here to play for ourselves. And whatever happens, happens. And that's a mindset that can make a team very dangerous. And it goes back to something that Paul Menari was saying prior to the SEC tournament when he was asked, now that your team's in postseason, do you think that they play looser? And he said, it's something I'm hoping for. LSU didn't look too loose in the SEC tournament in that first and only game against Georgia. You had the rocky first inning where there were walks from Marceau, something that's uncharacteristic. We all know about the misfortune of the botched double play. But once they settled down defensively and offensively, well, not really, but defensively and on the mound, they were able to keep the game close. It's just the offense necessarily wasn't as loose as you might have wanted to see it. So that's going to be something I want to watch for in the NCAA tournament because pressure is not going to go away, but can they play looser and have a little bit more fun out there and make a run?
Yeah, you're obviously way more tuned in than me, but I agree with your observations. LSU, to me, from the outside looking in, is a team that looks like it has a lot of talent, and they've kind of presented themselves with a lot of attainability this season in winning these big games. But you mentioned the situation at Georgia. It just seems like they can't quite get over the hump in some of these close games. So hopefully in the NCAA tournament, they are able to play a little more loose and win a couple of these contests as they try to make a run. Talking about making a run, and speaking of the run that LSU will try to make, it's going to begin in Oregon. The Tigers were picked on Monday to make the NCAA tournament as the number 3 seed in the Eugene Origin Regional. They will open with Gonzaga, who is the regional's number 2 seed. The other teams in the regional are Oregon and Central Connecticut. Of course, the Oregon Regional paired with the Knoxville Regional. So if Tennessee makes a little run and if LSU is able to make a little run, LSU might have a little bit of revenge on their minds, but maybe not thinking that far ahead. What are your initial thoughts on the draw?
So when I first saw it, I said, well, they're going back to the West Coast, which sucks. I don't think any LSU fan really enjoys that. First of all, the times of the games are terrible. I hate that LSU's going to throw a first pitch at 9 p.m. That's just stupid. But that aside, when you looked at where most had them projected, and I'm not talking about Ruston because that was never going to happen. That was a pipe dream for many. That was not happening. South Bend would have been tough because many people think Notre Dame can go to Omaha. Austin would have been a one-way ticket home. And honestly, those are the 2 sites I thought they were going to go to most likely. They end up in Oregon, and they are facing Gonzaga, who the Zags were knocking on the door of a regional host. If they win their last series of the year, they probably are a regional host. So they're a good team. But Oregon, that's a good team. But LSU can compete with these guys. Coach Menari said it yesterday that they're championship level teams, but LSU's not going to play any team harder than the teams that they've already played.
Listed off several SEC teams.
Kentucky, not Kentucky. Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi State. Teams like that. You'll know the schedule. We watched the season. So, but they are good. Gonzaga's ace, Alec Jacob, he's no joke. I mean, this guy's got 103 strikeouts in 76 and 2/3 innings. Opponents are hitting below 200 on him on the year, 7-1. He's thrown a no-hitter. And Gonzaga's battle-tested. Their record might not be great against the good teams they've played, but they've played games with Texas Tech, TCU, Oregon, Oregon State, Dallas Baptist. All those teams are in the NCAA tournament, and some of them national seeds. So they're not going to be intimidated seeing LSU on the other side of the dugout. And I would expect LSU to run Landon Marceau out there in the first game, which will be a first. That's something Paul Menari's never done in his time at LSU, is throw his ace in the first game of a regional. But you can't. LSU, I said LSU can win this regional. I think they have to be 2-0, though, to do it.
It's going to be interesting to see. Gonzaga obviously has a really good team, and we're going to get a little bit more into that. A lot of people picking them to win the regional, so should be really interesting. I got to tell you, Musso, watching the selection show, I was getting a little nervous. They kept going regional after regional after regional. I was waiting to see LSU Tigers. We finally did. Paul Menari, I know, was a little bit anxious too, but thankfully they're in, and they're one of 4 Louisiana teams that are in. Shout out to Southern. Obviously, they had a really good run in their conference tournament. Louisiana Tech will host a regional for the first time in Ruston as the number 16 national seed.
Which is awesome. Can I just, for a minute, that team, LSU's got to see them twice, and they can hit the ball like nobody's business. But more importantly, for them to be able to host a regional at the Love Shack after everything that campus and that program has been through with the tornado. They're playing at high school fields. They were playing in Little League fields at some point. I think they had to play a lot of their home games last season before it got shut down in Jackson, Mississippi. So, I mean, just that team is they are mentally tough. And for them to get this reward, and they earned it. It's not a pity host. They earned it. But I'm very happy to see that, and I really hope they can come out of that region.
And on the same token, Musso, I'm going to go ahead and throw some flowers for McNeese State, because the people in that community have had it really rough also with the natural disasters. I actually drove to Lake Charles to call a basketball game, and on TV or on a stream, and when you drive in front of the stadium, they have a lot where trucks come like every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, just dropping off debris in front of the stadium. So it was a really bad situation they're in. Good thing they have some quality baseball to watch, as McNeese is getting into the NCAA tournament, and obviously LSU is the 4th Louisiana school. We know the number 28 RPI was really good, but still 13-17 losing record in SEC play. We've heard a lot of people talking about old school thinking, and maybe if you have a losing record, you shouldn't be in. Do you think LSU getting in is at all controversial?
I don't. And of course, many people look at me and say, well, of course you don't. But no, I don't. And here's why. Because when you look at who was selected and why they were selected, it's obvious that strength of schedule played a massive role in the committee's decision this year. And everybody was going to wonder, is RPI fair to use, considering some played conference games only, some played, not a regular schedule. Not everybody played 56, but some played 40, whatnot. So how are they going to do it? Strength of record, strength of schedule was massive. And I'll give you an example. North Carolina is 27-25 overall. 27-25. They're 2 games above 500. They got in because their strength of schedule is number 7 in the country. Alabama got in. Their committee chair said it yesterday on the selection show. Strength of schedule is pretty much the only reason they got in. Made a lot of people in Pittsburgh mad, but that mattered. So no, when LSU had a top 5 strength of schedule, a winning record on the road, which are already 2 metrics they look at largely in a regular year, in a weird year like this, those are going to weigh more heavy, and they were in LSU's favor, and I don't think it's controversial that they got in.
Just means more, baby. 13-20 record, but it is in the SEC, and as you said, that's where a lot of the quality baseball teams in the country reside. Mario Jerez alongside Matthew Musso. We're going to get a little bit more in-depth with this LSU baseball conversation coming up next segment. We're going to remember Paul Menari's best moments in Musso's eyes before his last ride as LSU head coach. Obviously a really nice guy, obviously a great baseball coach. We'll get into all that coming up after this break. This is Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A certified pre-owned vehicle means that it's been certified by factory-trained technicians. It meets a stringent criteria of over 155-point inspection. We want to make sure that vehicle is mechanically sound and that we have a warranty to back it up. There's no mileage limitation. You can be assured that you're driving a vehicle, you got a good value, you'll get that special financing, those special incentives on certain models, and some of the other amenities that you get with a certified pre-owned vehicle.
What if you could truly energize your body and mind from the most fundamental level, your cells? Cellivate is a revolutionary health-aware approach to energy, focus, and mood enhancement, packing everything you need to optimize your mind and body from the inside out. The unique formula combines top-notch cellular energizers, nootropics, herbal extracts, and powerful antioxidants, all in one sugar-free 12-ounce can. Elevate your cells. Cellivate.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Coming up on Wednesdays Off the Bench, Players Only Club, as we spend an hour flustering with Matt Flynn. Jeremy Hill stops by to break down the Tigers in the NFL. And a brand new Would You Rather Wednesday. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back in to Middle Relief with Mario and Musso. Today we're getting ready for the NCAA baseball tournament, which LSU will play in. And we're remembering the soon-to-be retired Paul Menari. He will retire after this run, announced so on Friday night. When we think of Paul Menari, obviously we think of a great coach on the field. But since Friday, Musso, I've heard so many stories from so many media members about their interactions with Paul Menari and just the common respect or the mutual respect that he has with the media. He always goes out of his way to accommodate people, even if he's tired after a game. I remember my first year at LSU, I was working for the Daily Reveille, and I was covering a baseball game for the first time. And obviously, after baseball games, the way it works is Menari goes to the middle of the field or third baseline, whatever it is, and the media scrum comes around and everybody asks him his questions. The first time I ever interviewed him, or the first time I ever covered baseball, I had to introduce myself, right? Obviously, hey, coach, I'm Mario with the Daily Reveille, and then I asked him my question about Kramer Robertson or whatever. And he was like, yeah, well, Mario. And then he called himself, was like, did I say that right, Mario? And I was like, yes. And that was such a simple little gesture that probably meant nothing to anybody else. But to me, that was a big deal because obviously a lot of times people botch my names in any context when we're talking about my name. But just that little, that little moment where Paul Menari acknowledged me and then answered my question, it made me feel pretty good. And lots of Baton Rouge media members have had similar stories with Paul Menari.
Most people have said he's their most favorite coach that they've covered so far in their time in Louisiana or in Baton Rouge. And I mean, yeah, I have a similar story, and I know I told it on the podcast on Friday when it was announced that Paul would retire, and I was a student at LSU, and it was my senior year, and I had my very final project to do for a class that you have to pass in order to get your diploma, and I did a feature on Bill Franquez, the SID at LSU for baseball, who it was going to be his 40th year, and I mean, if Bill's phenomenal,
great,
was super accommodating, wanting to do the story and everything like that. So, one game I went to just to get footage of Bill doing his job and whatnot. And after we're down in the Champions Club where they would do the post-game radio show, and Menari would go in and speak and whatnot. And, I mean, you've heard it if you've listened to LSU baseball on the radio. So I'm down there, just getting some footage of Bill doing the show or whatnot. And I need to interview Paul for the story, and it's after the game, and it was 2018. They weren't having a great year. Obviously, the pitching staff was riddled with injuries. AJ Labus actually threw a complete game that night against Lamar, complete game shutout.
Oh, and they won that time.
And they did. They won. So Paul was in a little bit better mood.
There you go.
And here's the thing: when you're in student media and doing stories, sometimes it's hard to get interviews because you're a student. Sometimes people are they're going to turn you down because, they're not going to always give their time to a student. And this person's not going to ask me the right questions. They're not going to make me look good, things like that. Paul wasn't like that. I asked him, and it's late. It's after a game. And like I said, the season's not going. Coach Menari, I'm doing a story on Bill Franquez. Can I have a few minutes of your time? And he was absolutely the most accommodating person about it. Anytime I've interviewed him since or asked him a question in a media setting, he's been great. We did it during a commercial break for the radio, which was only about 2 minutes. And if you've ever listened to Paul Menari, getting questions from him in 2 minutes can get a little hairy. But
that's a tight turnaround.
Window. That's a tight window for Paul. He likes to talk. But we got it done, and that's just that's something that it wasn't that I was a student. It was I'm here to do a job, and I'm going to accommodate you to do the job. And that's just kind of who Paul Menari is, and that meant a lot.
A vivid memory I have in my head, Musso, is I forget the context and I forget why he said it, but Paul Menari was saying he was trying to not be a fuddy-duddy. And I'm sitting here on June 1st before Paul Menari goes on his last tournament run, and I'm going to say no matter what happens in this tournament, you are far from a fuddy-duddy, man.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
Very nice guy.
God, when was that? I know exactly the quote you're talking about, and I can't remember the context in it either.
I want to say it was during that 2017 season.
It might have been. It might have been during the 20s. Yeah, it might have been whenever they went out. The guys all dyed their hair and got new haircuts, and then he didn't want to be a fuddy-duddy about it. But that's that's just who he is. And I mean, look, the success on the field's been great too. So I mean, it slipped maybe a little bit here lately, but it's a resume that if you're at any other school in the Southeastern Conference, you are the greatest coach that's ever coached at that school.
We'll get into that. But first, do you remember the Bees? And Paul Menari running away from the Bees.
Of course.
And all the excellent memes that came out of that.
The memes were always very good with Paul Menari. The meme potential was always great. The Bees was definitely a good one. It didn't work the same way the Rally Possum worked. I remember everybody tried the Rally Bees t-shirts. That did not work.
Rally Beach Ball was a thing,
Yeah, Rally
too.
Beach Ball was a thing in 2017. It's LSU. They put Rally. We put Rally in front of everything and just see if it sparks a team. Maybe they need a critter to run on the field in Oregon. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see.
Paul Menari, the person, great guy, really funny, maybe unintentionally sometimes, but we've had some laughs at old P Money over the years, and obviously he's a really good coach, Musso. And when people talk about Paul Menari's strengths as a coach, they kind of talk about his obsession in the details. I think Brody Miller had a really great excerpt on why Paul Menari was so great. And it talked about how he's really good at calling pitch outs and catching, stealing base runners, and talked about how time to time he knows exactly when to tinker. And it references his move of DJ LeMahieu back in 2009 from shortstop to second base, and he attributes that move as being really important in LSU making that championship run. So when you think of Paul Menari's strengths as a coach and how you'll remember that, what comes to mind?
Kind of along the lines of what you were talking about. I mean, he was incredible with some hunches sometimes. I mean, and he used his hunches a lot, and sometimes they worked and sometimes they didn't work. I mean, DJ LeMahieu's one that worked. Sean Ochinko starting the game 3 of the 2009 championship series. That worked out pretty well. Sean had a nice game. Zach Hess, promoting him to closer in 2017. That worked out pretty well. I think of a guy who could coach in a lot of different ways. One of the knocks always on Paul was small ball. But it's like, depends on the year. I feel like Paul would adapt to his team given the certain year. I mean, I don't think anybody would accuse LSU of playing small ball this year. I think people wanted to see them play a little bit more small ball. The 2019, they didn't play small ball. They hit over 100 home runs. You had some teams mixed in there when they changed the park in Omaha that Paul did go to a bit of a smaller lineup. But I think that was just him trying to adapt, and it was him doing the tinkering. And for 39 years, 15 at LSU, it's worked. So I think of a coach who was hands-on and would try to adapt to his team as much as possible.
It's really messed up when we have this conversation, obviously, because Skip Bertman is who Skip Bertman is, right? But when you talk about modern era, the run that Paul Menari has had is just as good, if not, one of the best in all of college baseball. I mean, when you just think of this century, Pat Casey has won 3 titles at Oregon State. Yep. Ray Tanner, Tim Corbin, Augie Garrido, I hope I'm saying that right, have won 2 at South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and Texas, respectively. Menari doing what he's done at LSU is as good a run as any. And I heard you talk a couple of podcasts ago about Paul Menari and maybe getting a statue in the future, and about how if any other SEC program had the run that Paul Menari had, they would have a statue of that coach yesterday.
They would. I mean, they would. And I mean, look, and LSU's just now starting to really do the whole statue thing. And does Paul get one? I don't know. I mean, that's not for me to decide. It took them years to give Skip a statue at LSU. And I mean, there's nobody in LSU sports that deserved a statue more than that man. So I don't know. But what I do know is if it's any other school, yeah, there is one. And the number's retired and all of that. And, you mentioned the guys who have won those national championships in the modern era. And there's only one active coach with 2, and it's Tim Corbin. He's the only active coach in college baseball that has multiple national championships. It's tough. Guys, Paul wanted to win more national titles. He basically apologized for it in his retirement press conference. So let's see what they can do. Here we go. They've got their chance to go make the run. Go make the run. I hope the run is extensive.
If we could, real quick before we go to break, we have some Paul Menari sound. If we can cue up Menari 6, Cade, at his retirement press conference, he talked about coaching LSU being the honor of his life.
It's been really the honor of my life to serve this university and to be the baseball coach for 15 years. Skip Bertman had the confidence in me. I told Skip when I came here that my only goal was to make him proud, and I hope I've done that.
Are you proud of him, Musso?
Yeah, I'm proud of Coach. And you know what? And what's more important is Skip took the podium after that and said, "I'm proud of you, Paul." And that had to mean a lot. And that was a very emotional day. And now it's time to put that in the rearview mirror for now, because they've got games to go. He's got games to coach, and they've got games to win.
That's right, and we're going to talk about those games coming up next segment. LSU will open things up against Gonzaga. That's right, they play baseball too in the NCAA tournament. This is Middle Relief with Mario and Musso, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hanging with Hanny. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
From the makers of Blue Moon comes Light Sky. An extraordinary citrus sweet brewed with real tangerine peel, only 95 calories. Welcome to the light side of the moon.
Yo, Jacob Hester here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Center, the place that can be at your convenience during those inconvenient times. I know they've been that for me. I've got 4 boys, right? So sometimes stitches happen, and they have 6 convenient locations, one close to you to be able to be convenient for you. Remember, you can also check in online. PatientPlusUC.com is the website. That way you skip the line as well. Patient Plus Urgent Care Center, get in and get better.
Bayou Ford is open for business, and we want to earn your business. Stop in and see our selection of the latest Ford cars and trucks, as well as a variety of quality pre-owned vehicles, with prices starting as low as $5,000. Bayou Ford will get you the transparent information you're looking for, and when you're ready to purchase your new vehicle, provide the professional service you deserve. Located off I-10 on Belterre Boulevard in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. Have a great, safe, healthy Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be back after the holiday. So join us for Tuesday's AFR, 3 to 6. Happy Memorial Day. We'll see you Tuesday. 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back in to Middle Relief with Mario and Musso, inaugural edition on a Tuesday, although it feels like a Monday, and it basically is a Monday for us.
It feels like it to me. It's throwing me off. It's not necessarily had me in the right headspace all day long.
Yeah, well, we still had weekend winners on Off the Bench, which you're familiar with, so we're basically recapping all the good from over the weekend, including LSU punching its ticket into the NCAA tournament, baseball tournament that is. And before we get into Gonzaga and the opponents, I got to ask you, Musso, were you nervous? Because you didn't seem like you were very nervous. LSU, you mentioned, projected as the last four in. They were not part of those last four in. I was really nervous. How did you feel watching the selection show?
I don't know. I don't know if nervous was the right word. It wasn't necessarily nerves. It was more of a, that was Austin. They didn't go there. South Bend, they didn't go there.
Maybe that's a good follow-up. How much better is this than going to Texas or Ruston, which are the other names I heard?
I mean, Ruston, LSU would have been the favorite to win it. I mean, they had, again, I threw my bouquets at Louisiana Tech earlier. They're not as good of a team as LSU, and LSU proved that twice. They scored 32 runs against that team, not even in 2 full games, and 30 of them came off of that bullpen. That LSU would have won that regional. So this is tougher than that. It's not as tough as would have been going to Texas, just because Texas is really good and it's probably going to be in Omaha. And it wasn't necessarily, so back to your original question of nerves, it wasn't necessarily nerves, but it was, okay, here's the Oregon Regional, and this is their last shot. Because they're not going to an SEC venue. They're not going to send an SEC school to an SEC venue for a regional. They save those matchups for super regionals, which could potentially happen here. But, I mean, you had to feel good when you saw Oregon left on the board because they love to send LSU to the West Coast. So, I mean, it wasn't necessarily nerves. I believed in the resume.
Yeah, I didn't see a scenario where they left LSU out. I mean, maybe just from the outside looking in, I would think they want LSU to be in the tournament, exactly with it being Paul Menari's last season.
That didn't hurt.
No.
That didn't hurt.
Not at all. They're still going a little west, which you don't love. But as you said, still a pretty good draw based on what the other possibilities were. And when you talk about Gonzaga, it's not going to be a really easy opening opponent. They won the West Coast Conference Championship with a 10-0 drumming of San Diego back on Thursday night at Hertz Field. Gonzaga was one of 20 schools on a preliminary list to host a regional. So a lot of people had a really high opinion of these Zags. What are your initial thoughts on the matchup for LSU?
So you mentioned the 10-0 drubbing of San Diego. If they win one more game in that series, but they probably host. Them losing that series probably knocked them out of the hosting realm. But they had already won the conference, so I mean, there really wasn't much left to do there for them. They were in, they got their bid, which thank you, Gonzaga, because you could have been a bid that got stolen, and that would have hurt LSU, so thank you for winning that. I think they're a good team, and I think they're a team that deserves a little bit more respect than what they're getting. You saw a lot of LSU is going to win this regional, LSU's going to win this regional, and LSU can win this regional, sure, 100%, and they should be considered a dangerous team in this regional. But I just feel like it's going to be a little tougher than you think. We went through it in the first segment. Gonzaga's been battle-tested, and they've won some of those games that they've been battle-tested. They played Texas Tech, national seed. They played TCU, national seed. They played Dallas Baptist. They're in the tournament. Oregon, who's hosting this regional, they played them. They played Kansas State. They played Oregon State, who's in the tournament field. They've been battle-tested, so it's not going to be LSU, the 6-time national champions, they're across the diamond from us. That's not going to be a problem. And they've got good players, and they're more of a veteran club. And while LSU has some guys who've played in the postseason, Landon Marceau, Devin Fontenot, Cade Beloso, those guys have played in regionals before. But it's been said all year, LSU's really young. Gonzaga's not as young. What's interesting is Gonzaga hasn't been in the tournament since 2018, so their layoff's a little bit longer. And they might not be necessarily as used to being in the tournament. But I think LSU as a program, it goes back to what I was kind of just saying. I think LSU as a program is used to being in a tournament, NCAA tournament. The majority of the players on this team, this will be their first experience. And they're going to go far away from home, have to adjust to a brutal time change, and they're going to be playing teams that are suited to play in those ballparks. You're going to see a lot of West Coast ball from Gonzaga. It's going to be small ball. They don't steal as much as you would think, but it's get a guy on, move him over, get him home, whether it be a sac fly or a ground ball to the right side of the infield or whatever it may be. And they're gonna play in a park that's conducive to that. does have a short porch to right field, but other than that, it's a big ballpark. And it doesn't necessarily play into LSU's game. So there will be adjustment for LSU.
We're talking some baseball here on Middle Relief with Mario and Musso, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Matt, I believe that's the first time I've ever called you
Probably.
Matt.
I don't get called that very much here, which is understandable.
It'll probably be the last time I call you Matt as well. I believe we talked about this off mic before the show, but Harry in the chat is talking about once Alabama was in, LSU was probably also in, but he was surprised Georgia did not get in after they beat LSU. Do you share that sentiment?
Not really. I didn't think Georgia's resume was as strong, but here's the thing. I don't think Alabama should have been in the tournament either. I get it. The strength of schedule helped. We went through that too. But Alabama was 31-26. They weren't great. And they had 8 wins against the RPI top 50, and you left the team out in Pittsburgh who had 17 quad 1 wins, but it's because they didn't play well down the stretch. Alabama played well down the stretch. They went on that run in Hoover. They beat Tennessee. That helped them get them in along with their strength of schedule. So yes, no, absolutely. When Alabama was in, that should have definitely increased your confidence that LSU was going to get in because LSU beat them head to head. And honestly, I talked about this yesterday on the Selection Monday podcast. That was the biggest series ended up being the biggest series of the year for LSU. If they lose that series, Alabama, they probably don't get in. With Bama getting in like they did, it shows you how important that series was.
So close to a sweep, too, that game, too. I was at the box for that one. But still got in, and that's what matters, I guess. And speaking of that series, as well as the Texas A&M series, which LSU was able to take to create a little bit of momentum going into the NCAA tournament, did LSU do anything different in those last 2 series that maybe gives you a little bit more confidence going into the NCAA tournament? Or are they still kind of the same team with the same shortcomings that just need to get better?
The pitching gave me more confidence for sure, at least for me. To see the bullpen do what they did against Texas A&M, and I know A&M's not a great offensive ball club. I know that they're not even the lineup that Auburn was, and Auburn's a very good lineup. But to see that bullpen only give up 1 run over 3 games, and then have the 11 and 2/3 innings shutout in the extra inning game or whatnot, that should give you credit. And that's going to should give you confidence. And that's going to have to be key for LSU. They're going to have to pitch well. Sure, you have to score to win the game, but the game starts and ends on the mound. So if LSU can pitch like they did, because now that you're in a tournament, you can't just count on 4 arms out of the bullpen. You're going to need more guys. You're going to need Michael Fowler, who had a good outing at Texas A&M, to keep that going. You might need Will Helmers, who you haven't seen much on the weekend, but you could need him. You fall into the loser's bracket, and it's all hands on deck. If you can stay in the winner's bracket, hopefully you can just treat it like a weekend. But you get through those first 2 games, you're in the catbird seat. You don't, and then you got to count on some guys. And I think seeing that at A&M should give you a little bit more confidence. The problem is, all the confidence you got from the bullpen against A&M, you lost a little bit of confidence in the offense in that first game against Georgia in the SEC tournament because it just wasn't good offensively. Really, they weren't good. They were bad. They swung at a lot of pitches out of the zone, and it wasn't a great offensive day for the Tigers then.
Hitting is something that definitely needs to improve going into the NCAA tournament. But we won't spend too much time on LSU's future. Paul Menari obviously still has 1 more team left to coach in the NCAA tournament, but obviously there's still a lot of chatter going on around LSU and its next head coach. So much chatter that Florida head coach Kevin O'Sullivan had to address the rumors and address the reports. And he spoke with the media after Florida's last game in Hoover. And his response to that question, or to the narrative, was, "I cannot control what people write. I'm the head coach of the University of Florida, and it's just that simple." That sounds like pretty familiar coach speak, if we're being honest. Not always of coaches being truthful. And I just thought we had to bring this up. What did you think of the reports and Kevin O'Sullivan's response to them?
It's exactly what he should have said. You are the head coach of the University of Florida until you're not. So we've heard that from a lot of different coaches, that I'm not going to coach at this school, or I'm not going to coach this professional team. I'm staying right here. This is my job, and they don't always stay there. So, he's got a team to coach right now, and they've got a good chance to go on a run themselves. Their regional's kind of tough, but they've got a chance to go on a run. They're playing their best ball of the year, so his focus should be right there. And that's the thing. So with this, LSU's list is not Very extensive. Scott Woodward's lists normally aren't. He normally identifies a couple guys or one candidate and goes after them and normally lands them. So, but the problem is the guys they have identified, they're all still coaching teams right now. So it's gonna take a little bit.
Yeah, that's a little different. And again, you're more in tune with that kind of stuff. But I would just find it really, really weird for a coach to join a team that he beat in the championship in the same conference. That would be something just totally unprecedented.
Hey, man. Let's wait and see.
Let's wait and see. Anything could happen. It's not the first time we've heard Kevin O'Sullivan's name in rumors of leaving Florida and coaching a new school. Of course, in 2016, he was being mentioned for a new candidate for the head coach at Texas. Of course, Paul Menari's name was also kind of circulating when Texas had that vacancy. But as Musso said, we will see what happens. But the important thing is Paul Menari is still the head coach of LSU, and as you said, still has work to do in the NCAA tournament. Great job on the baseball talk by Matthew Musso, our resident LSU baseball expert. The Tigers are getting ready to take on Gonzaga this Friday night, 9 p.m. Central. Coming up next, we'll wrap up the hour with a little bit of LSU football talk. Coach O had his standing appointment on Off the Bench this morning. We'll recap what he said and talk a little foosball here with Matt Musso. I'm Mario Jerez. This is Middle Relief on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Have you been issued a ticket for texting, speeding, or other traffic violations? Have you made a mistake? We all have. You're not a bad person. Call the law offices of O.C. Brown at 225-343-1111 or connect with us online at ocbrown.com.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Can you feel it? Spring is almost here, and if you got a new boat for Christmas or you just want to take your boat to a new level, you want front-to-back boat service, HD displays, live sonar that show the fish before you cast, trolling motors. At Front to Back, they got not one, but two NMEA certified techs for all of your marine electronic needs. How does a brand new speaker system sound? Well, guess what? They do that too. So call 225-928-9644 or go to Front to Back Boat Service.
A certified pre-owned vehicle means that it's been certified by factory-trained technicians. It meets a stringent criteria of over 155-point inspection. We want to make sure that vehicle is mechanically sound and that we have a warranty to back it up. There's no mileage limitation. You can be assured that you're driving a vehicle, you got a good value, you'll get that special financing, those special incentives on certain models, and some of the other amenities that you get with a certified pre-owned vehicle.
50 years ago on Easter Sunday, Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo proudly opened our doors, and we've been hopping ever since. 5 decades of connecting people with animals, teaching our community about the problems facing wildlife and how we can help, and working with zoos across the world to protect endangered species. Today, our future is taking flight by stretching the possibilities of what your zoo can become, while we keep it fun and affordable for everyone. Thanks for coming along.
Sports wouldn't be the same without the die-hard fans. That's why we're highlighting the fans that do the most. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge brings you the Citizens Bank Fan of the Week. Check it out at 1045ESPN.com, the Citizens Bank Fan of the Week.
Coming up on Wednesdays Off the Bench, Players Only Club, as we spend an hour flestering with Matt Flynn. Jeremy Hill stops by to break down the Tigers in the NFL. And a brand new Would You Rather Wednesday. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back in to the inaugural edition of Middle Relief. Mario Jerez alongside Matt Musso. Baseball heavy in the first hour, obviously, with Paul Menari announcing his retirement and with the Tigers punching their ticket into the NCAA tournament. We got a few minutes here at the end, so we're going to talk a little bit about LSU football and kind of recap what Coach O said this morning. LSU, of course, beginning preparations for the 2021 season. We know they will open that season against UCLA over there in the Rose Bowl. The very first time LSU is making a trip to the Rose Bowl to play the Fighting Chip Kellys and UCLA Bruins. And Coach O also talked about matching up with his son the next week. LSU, of course, will host McNeese State, the Cowboys, and Cody Ogeron, the starting quarterback for McNeese State. And T-Bob Musso brought up what I thought was a really interesting point. That Coach O, not only is he the head coach of LSU, the team facing against his son, but he's a defensive line coach. So he's coaching guys like Ali Gay and Andre Anthony and all these people to crush his son.
He's going to scheme up blitzes against his own son. Yes, absolutely. And doing it, and he's going to do it in a fashion to win the game.
And that's something really unprecedented. We talked about it this morning. You talk about a major college football coach at a program like LSU facing off against his son as the opposing quarterback. That's something we're not going to see very much. And Coach O talked about just that. That's 0-4 facing Cody Ogeron in Tiger Stadium.
Well, knowing Cody, he's going to expect our very best. And he's going to get it. And you know what? I expect him to do well also. But that night I'm a Tiger, and obviously that's my son. But I know Frank's going to have that team very well prepared.
That's true. That's another added caveat is Frank Wilson's the head coach over at McNeese State. So there's plenty of ties to LSU and Coach O on the other sideline at McNeese. So that should be a great game. You can watch that on ESPN Plus or the SEC Network Plus, which just has a very Tiger Vision feel to it for me. That's just before there was all ESPN3 and whatnot. You had to order the game yourself, but that's just a big Tiger Vision feel to me for that one.
Hopefully this McNeese game goes better than the last time LSU played McNeese State. I think it was circa 2017-18. There was like 2 plays, and then the game got rained out. Yep. It's not very, the saying, it never rains in Tiger Stadium. But
it stormed.
That was not true on that day. Coach O on the show this morning was also talking about some guys that have kind of impressed him. And the freshman, he talked about Jack Besh. And he also mentioned Chris Hilton. That was actually the first player he brought up, Musso. And I think LSU kind of enters a really interesting situation at 2021 at wide receiver. We know what Keyshawn Booty can do. That they've had guys kind of contribute here and there. When you talk about Jerez Jenkins, Trey Palmer, not as much, but he's a factor and a guy that has some experience. Chris Hilton, as I mentioned, the first player brought up and one of several young players who's going to get a chance to get some snaps for LSU. He's a two-sport standout. At Zachary, he played both football and track and field, 4 stars from 24/7 Sports, and there are lots of those guys sprinkled all over LSU's roster. So it kind of reminds me of Alvin Kamara talking about being in the Alabama running back room, and he looks to his left and he looks to his right, and he talks about all the present NFL players that were there. LSU not lacking depth at wide receiver.
Not at all. And, you mentioned Trey Palmer, and that's a guy I think everybody's been really wanting to see on the field for LSU. And when you have, it's been fairly effective, especially in special team situations. He's just got that game-breaking type speed. And this is an offense, they're talking about it being similar to 2019. This is an offense that a guy like that could really have success in. If you can get him the ball in space, get the ball to your athlete in space, he's one of your best, and let him go out there and make plays. He's an interesting candidate. Chris Hilton is kind of in the same vein as Trey Palmer as a player, and that's makes a lot of sense that he's a name that's first out of their mouth. And yeah, the seniors on the team, the guys like Kirkland, who was it Kirkland that had the dominating spring game? I know it's a spring game, but he had like 200 yards receiving or something.
He's had a couple of those
in the spring game. So, they've got guys to fill those spots. I'm just interested to see how they end up filling those spots.
About a minute left here in the first hour. Middle relief with Mario and Musso. Real quick, Musso, I know you saw this story on Twitter. Tyrann Mathieu pledges another $1 million donation to LSU if one Derek Stingley is able to take home either the Thorpe Award or the Heisman Award. Heisman really unlikely. But do you think people have kind of forgotten how good Derek Stingley was his freshman season after he dealt with the injuries last year?
I think fans have. Maybe not LSU fans, but fans of other teams and fans of college football, I think they have. The scouts certainly have not. And people in this region certainly have not. And Tyrann might be out $1 million because that Thorpe Award kind of just seems like it has Derek Stingley's name written all over it.
We'll see. Obviously played really good as a freshman, struggled with some injuries a little bit as a sophomore. He talked about other guys leading the way on defense. He mentioned Jay Ward as a young guy, Cardell Flott. Harris should be an interesting season. LSU seems to be loaded on defense. Hour number 2, middle relief, coming up next.
Bayou Ford is open for business, and we want to earn your business. Stop in and see our selection of the latest Ford cars and trucks, as well as a variety of quality pre-owned vehicles, with prices starting as low as $5,000. Bayou Ford will get you the transparent information you're looking for, and when you're ready to purchase your new vehicle, provide the professional service you deserve. Located off I-10 on Belterre Boulevard in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
and injury lawyers. Middle Relief. Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now, let's go to the bullpen. Here's Mario Jerez and Matt Musso.
Welcome back in hour number 2, Middle Relief. Matt Musso sitting here, Mario Jerez as well. Let's bring the conversation back to baseball. Welcome on our first guest ever, actually, on this show, and it's a pretty darn good one.
Great one.
Legend in the broadcasting field. We're talking about Lynn Rollins, Cox Sports Television, SEC Network. Lynn, thank you for your time. How are you?
It is an honor to be the debut guest, and I love the name of your show. It couldn't be better.
Thank you, sir. We're fond of it, too. We like it. I'm a big baseball guy myself, so I was like, Middle Relief, sure, let's rock and roll. Let's talk some LSU baseball. The Tigers make it into the field of 64, maybe a little easier in than many thought. They weren't one of the last 4 in. They'll go out to Eugene, Oregon, where Oregon will host a regional. They will face off against Gonzaga in the first game. Overall, what were your just thoughts of the draw that LSU received?
Well, I think LSU was certainly fortunate in getting yet another regional berth. I quite honestly was glad to see the committee not do the easy thing and send them to Louisiana Tech, and not do the easy thing and send McNeese there as well out of the Southland Conference. So I thought the geographical spread, while LSU doesn't necessarily like it having to travel that far, I think it does justice to the overall bracket, unlike softball sometimes. But number 1, Oregon, number 2, Gonzaga, number 3, LSU, number 4, Central Connecticut. The latter shouldn't really be a factor. LSU certainly could win this regional. It's going to have to obviously get starting pitching. I'm not divulging any cosmic secrets there. And the relief has got to be better. Devin Fontenot, of course, could play a huge role in this if he gets on his game and stays there.
So LSU down the stretch, they ended up going 6-3 in their last 9 conference games. They did lose the first game in the SEC tournament, which is very uncharacteristic of a Paul Menari team. But throughout the year, it's been a team led by freshmen. Where have you seen the most growth on this LSU team as somebody who's watched them all year long?
Well, I don't know if I could say that Trey Morgan and Dylan Cruz provided a lot of growth, because those are the 2 freshmen primarily that you're speaking of offensively, because they were so good from the get-go. I don't think they really grew during the season, because the level of play was at a very high level from day one and remained that way through 56 games. But when you look at Trey Morgan, an acrobatic first baseman, 81 hits in 56 games. I mean, he was an SEC leader in many categories. Dylan Cruz with an average well over 300, 13 home runs. I think if you're looking for someone who really grew this year, it would be Gavin Dugas. 16 homers, 60 runs driven in. Certainly you couldn't ask for much more than that. And when you take Cruz and you take Cade Doty and you take Gavin Dugas, you're looking at 41 home runs. When is the last time LSU had a trio of guys in the middle of the lineup produce 41 home runs and a whole lot of runs batted in? So I would say Gavin Dugas maybe with the most growth over the course of the season. But I'm firmly convinced, and I'm not making any excuses at all, because every team goes through injuries. Every team has its problems. You've got to have a roster that can handle that. But I am convinced that if Matthew Beck would have been healthy, and if Jaden Hill would have been healthy and pitching well, this is a team that would have won 10 more games. And I don't think that's an overstatement. Matthew Beck, during his career, has a team batting average against both right-handed and left-handed of less than 200. He's been remarkable in a variety of roles out of the bullpen. And, of course, we're aware of what Jaden Hill is capable of. Unfortunately, injuries have curtailed his career. But I really do believe if those two would have been healthy and pitched like they have in the past, then this is a team with 10 more wins.
Hey, Lynn, this is Mario Jerez. We've kind of become friends through the play-by-play community, and I'm a big play-by-play nerd. We're remembering Paul Menari today. Obviously, lots of work to do. One last run for old coach before he retires, but we are kind of reminiscing on some of the good times with Paul Menari and how well he's treated Baton Rouge media. I know I remember a lot of broadcasts for me are more memorable than others, and I'm sure you've had really memorable broadcasts involving Paul Menari on the SEC Network and on other platforms. So when you think of your most memorable broadcasts or your most memorable moments involving Paul Menari, what memories come to mind?
Well, first, regarding Paul Menari, I know he's very, very proud of having been the first civilian coach to coach the Air Force. He's a guy who has not forgotten that experience. He's the first one to stand and put his hand over his heart at the playing of the national anthem, and he's heard it thousands and thousands of times as a coach and a player in his career. One of the fun things about covering a Menari coach team was the 23-game winning streak, which at the time was the longest in SEC history, if memory serves. And certainly those moments were very special as the team rallied from what was a somewhat mediocre start and closed the season with that. Obviously, the World Championship team comes to mind, but I think some of the smaller moments, Paul Menari always returned phone calls. I didn't always get the answer I wanted to hear, but I always got an answer. I think he treated people I think he treated the media with a lot of respect, and was always accessible, and I thought was very candid. And certainly as a member of the media, somebody reporting on the team, you appreciate that. His love for his father, his admiration for his father and some friends in baseball, including the late Tommy Lasorda, was very pronounced. It was genuine, and it was a blow to him, I think, more than most people when his father died, and certainly Tommy Lasorda's death this year was not something that he took lightly. So those are some of the things. He was always accessible, always candid, and people need to appreciate that. I've also, quite honestly, been at the ballpark late after a game and seen Paul Menari without solicitation or without being begged or cajoled. I have seen him take a baseball over to what appeared to be a teenager in a wheelchair after the game, and just went to talk baseball with him. And you could see, even from a distance, you could see the bright eyes and the wide smile from that fan who had been at a game and was still there after the game, maybe even seeking some help with a wheelchair. I'm not sure of the circumstances, but Paul Menari saw him seated behind the LSU dugout and went up in the stands and talked to him. That made an impression on me. That's what this sport is all about. That's what people should do, and he did it.
Talking with Lynn Rollins, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame broadcaster and a baseball expert. He knows his baseball. Obviously, Paul Menari, a really good person based on all his dealings with the media and anybody who's had any kind of interaction with him. But Lynn, obviously, he's a really good baseball coach. Me and Musso talked about his strengths and his obsession in the details and kind of him being a master at calling pitch outs. And Musso mentioned his propensity to have a hunch, and his hunches were usually right. He talked about moving DJ LeMahieu from shortstop to second base back during that championship run in 2009. In your eyes, what made Menari a great baseball coach?
Well, I think the fact that he was very consistent. I like the way he handles the roster, meaning that even if you got off to a bad start, or even if you were not one of the main guys at the start of the season, you should always bring your glove and your cleats and be ready to play, because he absolutely will and always has used players deep down on the roster when he felt like they could contribute. Some of it was hunch, and you're right. A high percentage of his hunches paid off. Not all of them, of course. None ever do to that extent. But I like the fact that he used the roster. And if you were on the roster, he considered you good enough to contribute and gave you the opportunities to do that. And those are some of the things that I really remember about him. It's unfortunate that relief pitching this year was such that it was very unreliable. It made end of games decisions very unpredictable and unsure. And you got, 6 regulars or part-time players offensively with significant time who hit under 229 and 3 less than 155. LSU in its lineup had and still does have too many, and I'm going to use the term automatic outs, but it's like playing with 6 or 7 against 9 offensively, and that was a factor. And it's awfully tough to overcome when you've got 2 or 3 players in the lineup, and it didn't matter who they were, that just had substandard years offensively. So all of that can be cast aside. A clutch base hit here or there, an unexpected Sterling relief performance, and all of this can be turned around in a short series.
One more from me here, Lynn. You were talking about starting pitching for LSU in this weekend's regional being key, and I'd love your thoughts on a guy like Mikal Hilliard, who was great as a freshman, had some injuries to deal with, took a while to get back, and maybe a few up and down outings this year, but the last month since being inserted into the LSU starting rotation, he's just been nails. He finally looks healthy, and he looks like he did as a true freshman. Just thoughts from you on a guy like Mikal Hilliard.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that certainly is a player that you could put in that growth category. Not so much if you're comparing it to the freshman season when he won 9 games, but as a sophomore and a junior, things didn't go particularly well. Certainly, he did not have the opportunities that he did as a freshman when he just burst on the scene with that high spin rate breaking pitch. But to go 6-0 this year and really to provide an answer when LSU desperately needed some folks to step up in that third starting rotation role in the weekends, and 2 or 3 guys were tried, 2 or 3 guys failed, and Mikal Hilliard got his chance, and you could make the case that he was the most effective starting pitcher for LSU the last month of the season. And his velocity increased by 2 or 3 miles an hour, and I'm not a guy who places a lot of attention on that, but the fact that he was throwing harder and the fact that the breaking pitch reverted back to what it was as a freshman and the fact that his control was better, he certainly was a huge piece of LSU's season, and without him, LSU would not be playing in postseason.
One more here for you, Lynn. Paul Menari announces his retirement on Friday. Obviously, he's still going to coach this team in the NCAA tournament. Me and Musso were talking a couple segments ago of how that reminds us of Mike Martin back at Florida State a couple of years ago when his team made the NCAA tournament after he announced his retirement, and they played a little inspired. They went on a run. Are you surprised at the timing of Paul Menari's announcement of him retiring? And do you think LSU can play inspired for him, much like Florida State did a couple years ago?
Oh, I think the latter is certainly possible. And I'm not surprised. This was a painful season for him physically. At times it was a painful season for him spiritually and mentally. But especially the physical problems he's had with back and neck, and the pain is real. He's undergone some procedures to try to correct it. It's been partially successful. But he has certainly physically paid the price this year, and I think that was part of the factor. It would not surprise me, quite honestly, if the physical health returns, and I don't know if and when it will, but if there are other procedures or perhaps other things that can be done, it wouldn't surprise me a year from now if someone came calling and said, hey, we're looking for a guy with a proven track record who can give us 3 or 4 or 5 years, maybe in a transitory role, or it wouldn't surprise me if the time and place were right. I know Paul Menari did not give up the game easily. I absolutely know that. This is his passion. It's what he's always wanted to do. It's what he was trained to do. It's what he has done very, very, very well. He will go down in history as one of the elite college baseball coaches. And it wouldn't surprise me if the situation were right in the relatively near future and his physical health returned. It wouldn't surprise me to see him get back in the game. But I wasn't surprised with the timing. And I actually think the timing is really, really good because it allows LSU some time to a little bit of extra time to seek a suitable replacement. So to answer your question, I thought the timing was good, and if he didn't get in a regional, then the timing was good, and obviously since LSU did make that regional, maybe the last hurrah, so to speak, will be such that even more memories can be made.
Play-by-play extraordinaire Lynn Rollins joining us on Middle relief with Mario and Musso. You got one more for Lynn on his way out? Nope. Guess
that's
not.
it.
Lynn Rollins, legend of the play-by-play community, LSU baseball expert, joining us here on the inaugural edition of Middle Relief. Lynn, thanks so much. Have a good one, man.
It's my pleasure, and again, thank you for making me part of your debut. It's a real honor, and best of luck to you guys.
Yes, sir.
Lynn.
Yes, sir. You've been really nice to me throughout my career. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming on today. Inaugural edition, Middle Relief with Mario and Musso. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit of NFL. A certain quarterback, high-profile quarterback, thinks his team could maybe go undefeated this season. We'll tell you who that is. Coming up next, Middle Relief, Mario and Musso, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is open for business, and we want to earn your business. Stop in and see our selection of the latest Ford cars and trucks, as well as a variety of quality pre-owned vehicles, with prices starting as low as $5,000. Bayou Ford will get you the transparent information you're looking for, and when you're ready to purchase your new vehicle, provide the professional service you deserve. Located off I-10 on Belterre Boulevard in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. Have a great, safe, healthy Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be back after the holiday. So join us for Tuesday's AFR, 3 to 6. Happy Memorial Day. We'll see you Tuesday. 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back in. Hour number 2, Middle Relief. I'm Musso with Mario. Cade Wazin on the audio board. Paul O'Neill handling the video today. Been heavy on the baseball. Makes a lot of sense. LSU, that's a hot ticket in town right now. Again, thank you to Lynn Rollins for stopping by in the last segment. We'll switch some gears to the NFL because it's June 1st, Mario. It's a big day for the league when it comes to the NFL. And there's a certain quarterback who isn't really worried necessarily about today's date because his team's already set. He's worried about the season. And that's Patrick Mahomes, who says he believes and thinks it would be, quote, awesome if the Kansas City Chiefs could go 20-0.
It would be awesome. And if most people say this, I think we kind of scoff at it, especially with the added game. But the Chiefs, although kind of had some O-line problems there in the Super Bowl, maybe got to beef up that position. They're one of the teams that maybe could realistically do it. When Patrick Mahomes says this, I don't think a lot of people are thinking, oh, there's no way. They maybe have a chance to do it. But that being said, Musso, it's been 50 years since, or over 50 years, whenever 1973 was. My math isn't great. You guys are going to learn that as the show goes on. And I'm not sure we're ever going to see another undefeated team in our lifetime. When I think of people that have even gotten close, obviously the Patriots in 2007 when they got upset by the Giants. But since then, the only team that I think even had a chance was maybe the 2009 Indianapolis Colts, who started 13-0, and they rested their players for the last 3 games. The Saints that same season also started 13-0, but we got to point out that they did not rest their starters for that Week 14 game, and they lost to Dallas. So we've seen some teams kind of get close, but this is something that I don't think we're going to see in our lifetimes. That's just me.
I don't. I do agree with you on that. It's the NFL is only getting better and more talented, and now that you've added the extra game, you're going to factor in the resting of players even possibly earlier for some teams. So would it be an awesome story? Absolutely. But I think if you ask the Kansas City Chiefs, and I know Pat Mahomes is saying it'd be great, but if you asked him, hey, Pat, would you rather go, what would it be, 13-4 in the regular season and win the Super Bowl, or go 20-0 and win the Super Bowl? The main thing there is Super Bowl, and that's the goal, right? So I think he'd tell you, yeah, the goal is to win the Super Bowl, but it'd be pretty cool to do the 20-0. You look at their schedule, not necessarily conducive those first couple games. The Browns, who are better.
That's a statement game for Cleveland, man. They've taught so much. Well, I don't know if smack this offseason, but they really believe they've made a jump, and they did last season. But that first game, I think, is a are you for real moment for the Cleveland Browns.
And then you follow that up with a road trip to Baltimore. So you got 2 right out the gate that would test you very early. But the Chiefs, they are great. We mentioned the June 1st date at the start of the segment to switch gears to that and more of trades and free agents. And we'll start with Julio Jones and then move into Aaron Rodgers a little bit, because I think those are the 2 biggest names. And I think it's safe to say Julio's out of Atlanta. He has said that himself.
On television.
Whether he knew it or not. And you can't bring a guy like that back. After he said that on national TV that I'm out of there, he's probably out of there. And a name that keeps coming up is the Seattle Seahawks, which, do they really need another receiver to that caliber with DK Metcalf and Lockett that they already have, who both went over 1,000 yards? They really need another receiver for Russell Wilson?
Yeah, that's not really. Obviously, they have other drawbacks on their team. And you mentioned the Diana Rossini report. She mentioned that Russell Wilson personally reached out to Julio Jones. So I think it's more of a Russell Wilson trying to get help. He already had his problems with that organization. But you're right. They already have DK Metcalf. They already have Tyler Lockett, who both had more than 10 touchdown receptions. I know that because Lockett was on my fantasy team. And they each had more than 1,000 yards last season. And we had this combo on a Friday when Jeremy Hill and Andrew Lopez was here, and I was filling in for T-Bob and Hester. Julio, if he's able to go to a team that is one piece away, that one wide receiver option away from winning a Super Bowl, he could have a serious impact. I think he could have a Randy Moss-like impact that Randy had back in 2007 playing for the Patriots. But when I see these teams that are after him, Musso, and the teams rumored to be after Julio Jones' services, I don't know if any of them are one Julio Jones away from being a championship contender, including the Seahawks, who had problems on defense.
Their defense was, and it was specifically their pass rush, not until later in the year when they added Dunlap did their pass rush really start to get to a point where it was respectable in the NFL. So you mentioned the Diana Rossini report about the Seahawks. She also has a report that there's a team that's offered a first-round pick for Julio Jones, a future first-round pick, which I think is surprising. What do you think the market is for Julio Jones?
We talked about it on the show Friday. It might be more than that, Musso. It might be a first-round pick and a player. I don't know if a starting caliber player or a good player.
Still, with this Julio Jones.
Yes, because he still had over 900 yards or over 700 yards receiving last year in 9 games. He was playing a little bit banged up, but I think Julio still has a couple years left. And I don't say that lightly because we talked about it again last week. This man has played for Alabama. This man has played for the Atlanta Falcons. It might be a little bit harder to get props out of me, but Julio Jones is an amazing player. And despite him making life miserable for my team for the last several years, he's somebody I really respect as a player. He's somebody I hope gets that kind of opportunity, because to answer your question, Musso, yes, I still think Julio Jones still can have that type of impact, and I still think he's kind of chasing after some kind of redemption after he had that infamous catch in the Super Bowl that set Atlanta up to win that thing. We all know what happened after that, but yeah, I still have a lot of faith in Julio Jones.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see. There's only one team that's offering it. I mean, I don't know. I'm very interested to see the market. I think there's plenty of teams that should call and ask absolutely about Julio Jones, because it seems like he of all is definitely out of his current, like he's going on the block. Then there's Aaron Rodgers, which this has been, I mean, man, what, for almost a month now, right?
Long time.
The draft was when the night of the draft, first round, is when this first broke that he wanted out. And since then, he's gone on vacation in Hawaii with his girlfriend. He has attacked the Green Bay Packers culture and their organization, saying that they forgot that people build the organization. And through all of that, their GM, who, how do you say his name? I don't know how to say his name.
Gutekunst
says, we're not going to trade Aaron Rodgers. And he's not at the OTAs, which, of course, that's fine. They're voluntary. Who cares? The real telltale sign with this is in a few weeks when the mandatory camp starts, and I don't expect Aaron Rodgers to be there.
There is some really bad blood with him in the organization, man. And everybody always brings up Jordan Love, which obviously he probably didn't love that pick. But
he said he didn't.
Exactly. But I still can't help but think back of a young Aaron Rodgers in 2005 when Brett Favre, had the reception to him that he had. It's night and day in the quotes. When they asked Favre about it, it was, my job is not to help Aaron Rodgers. When you ask Aaron Rodgers about Jordan Love, he's a good kid. I'm excited to work with him. And obviously they didn't help him by drafting somebody who could actually help him. But my point is, this is something that was festering way before that, I think. And after the Jordan Love pick, Green Bay obviously has not done a good job communicating to Aaron Rodgers. So I just do not see in any way, before June 2nd, after June 2nd, that Aaron Rodgers is not traded, because I think if they hold on to him, the Packers will get absolutely nothing for him, and it will be a worse situation for Green Bay.
So you think they trade him? You don't think he just sits out the year?
I think so, because it's going to come to a point where, do you want nothing for him, or do you want Aaron, or do you want to get something in return for an NFL MVP? Yeah, that's still going to be on your resume that you traded an NFL MVP, which looks bad, but you got to get something out of it.
That compounded everything, though. When he won MVP last year and had the best year he's had in his career in a while, that just made everything worse, because you drafted the quarterback in the first round, moved up to draft the quarterback in the first round, and your guy, who's one of the all-time greats, responds by winning MVP, and now he's being vocal about wanting out. And again, the culture of your organization, how Green Bay's always been about the people, and you're losing sight of the people. Throw in the NFC Championship game with kicking the field goal down 7. And I just feel like he feels like there's not enough trust in him after the season that he just turned in with that organization. And I think, I'm not so sure if they trade him, but I right now, today, June 1st, I don't think Aaron Rodgers plays for the Green Bay Packers next year.
Going to be really interesting to see. He obviously probably still, we were talking about Julio Jones. What do you think Aaron Rodgers at age 36? He might still have a good 3 or 4 years left.
Or maybe even more. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been healthy. I mean, he stayed healthy. That's the key. I mean, you look at ultimately what really kind of brought Drew Brees down is he kept getting hurt, and a laundry list of injuries for Drew Brees. Brady's been able to stay healthy. He's been able to do it. Aaron Rodgers has been able to stay healthy. He can play more, sure. And you talk a market for Aaron Rodgers. That's going to be a really big market. You can still, the reigning MVP, you can command a lot for that guy.
And you talked about him being well protected, and that's kind of, I think, an argument for Guten. I'm not going to try to say his name again. It's
German. It's tough. Not everybody can get it.
They've given him a good O-line. Tunyon's a great tight end. They have good players on defense. It's not like a Dell Demps Pelican situation, which I've heard some people equate it to. You know, he does have a good team, but obviously it comes back to the communication, which just has not been very good, and I can't help but look at that first game. The Saints open up the season against Green Bay. Who's the starting quarterback for them going to be? Who's the starting quarterback for New Orleans going to be? Most of us think it's Jameis Winston, but that's still but that's still kind of, I don't know, man. I would never I agree with you, but I could see Sean Payton be like, screw all you people. Taysom Hill. He's done it before.
Last year. One Saints question for you. What move do you think they make now that we've hit the June 1st deadline? Do you think they go defensive back here?
They got to get a cornerback. Everybody who's covered the team has said as much. Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton have implied as much in their press conference. You know, losing Janoris Jenkins is huge. They have really high hopes for Paulson Adebo, the third-round pick out of Stanford. But even in a perfect scenario where he pans out and where Marshawn Lattimore doesn't miss any time through a suspension, the Saints literally need bodies at cornerback. So they're going to get another cornerback.
I liked the Paulson Adebo pick for what it's worth. I really did.
Maybe a little Stanford connection between him and Richard Sherman, too.
Hey, look, man, Sherman's still out there, and to me, that's surprising. I still think Richard Sherman's a very good defensive back in the NFL, and I can't imagine his name will be on the board much longer as the month of June goes by. Somebody's going to pick him up.
Saints fans are a little traumatized when it comes to signing anybody from the Legion of Boom past their prime, but hey.
Yeah, well, extenuating circumstances maybe right there. But all right, we're going to grab a break here. It's Middle Relief, Musso and Mario. Come back, have one more segment on the NCAA tournament in baseball. We'll look at the regionals from other SEC teams, which ones are tough, which ones are toughest, which SEC teams might have the easier roads. And is Arkansas for real? That's what we'll talk about next here. It's Middle Relief with Musso and Mario on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
A certified pre-owned vehicle means that it's been certified by factory-trained technicians. It meets a stringent criteria of over 155-point inspection. We want to make sure that vehicle is mechanically sound and that we have a warranty to back it up. There's no mileage limitation. You can be assured that you're driving a vehicle, you got a good value, you'll get that special financing, those special incentives on certain models, and some of the other amenities that you get with a certified pre-owned vehicle.
This isn't just another day, it's so much more.
Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Can you feel it? Spring is almost here, and if you got a new boat for Christmas or you just want to take your boat to a new level, you want front-to-back boat service. HD displays, live sonar that show the fish before you cast, trolling motors. At Front to Back, they got not one, but two NMEA certified techs for all of your marine electronic needs. How does a brand new speaker system sound? Well, guess what? They do that too. So call 225-928-9644 or go to Front to Back Boat Service.
50 years ago on Easter Sunday, Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo proudly opened our doors, and we've been hopping ever since. 5 decades of connecting people with animals, teaching our community about the problems facing wildlife and how we can help, and working with zoos across the world to protect endangered species. Today, our future is taking flight by stretching the possibilities of what your zoo can become, while we keep it fun and affordable for everyone. Thanks for coming along.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Coming up on Wednesdays Off the Bench, Players Only Club, as we spend an hour flustering with Matt Flynn. Jeremy Hill stops by to break down the Tigers in the NFL. And a brand new Would You Rather Wednesday. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back. We are in hour number 2 of the inaugural Middle Relief with Mario and Musso. I'm Musso. That's Mario. Right now we're going to do one, this might be a little bit of a shorter segment. We're going to do one more segment on the NCAA baseball tournament for today. We've been heavy on that topic, but most of our talk has been centered around LSU. Right now, let's look around the conference a little bit more because there was 9 SEC teams in, and the majority of those were hosting regionals. Even one of them was a 2 seed, South Carolina, and that's where I kind of want to start.
Just means more. Go ahead.
Because that's a brutal draw that South Carolina got. And for what it's worth, if you're hosting a regional as a 2 seed, you should get a brutal draw. You just should. That's how that should work. And they did. Old Dominion is the 1 seed, and Old Dominion can hit the ball way out of the park. And that ballpark, Founders Park in Columbia, the ball flies out of it. So Old Dominion will have a really nice chance. Can they pitch as well as South Carolina? Maybe not. They also got Virginia in that league, in that tournament. And Virginia is one of the hottest teams in the country. Before the last month of the season, Virginia was out. They heated up. They're in now, and they believe. And Coach Brian O'Connor has a national championship there, and in a similar year to this, when Virginia won the title in 2015, they were a preseason top 5 team, fell off, had a lot of injuries, but got hot, made a run all the way through Omaha, and won the national title. So he has experience coaching a team in this situation. Of course, you have South Carolina, who's good, very solid team out of the SEC. And then you have Jacksonville, who I was not happy to see win that tournament, but congratulations. They have 16 wins. They're not great, but they're hot. They believe. Do I think they're going to make any noise there? Absolutely not. But it's just another hot team in that regional.
That's Jacksonville State?
No, just Jacksonville, the Dolphins.
Okay.
They won 16 games all year.
Gotcha.
But they won their tournament, so they got into the field.
Okay.
The one that everybody talked about was Ole Miss, and it is pretty brutal. Ole Miss will play host to Southeast Missouri State, SEMO, which, yeah. But then they have Florida State, and Southern Miss. And Southern Miss, a lot of people are talking could win that regional. Southern Miss, until Saturday of the Conference USA tournament, was a host. And then they lost 2 games to Louisiana Tech, and Louisiana Tech took that spot back. But Southern Miss is a team that can absolutely compete in that regional. And Florida State, look, we talked about it earlier when we were talking about the 2019 Florida State team and how their record wasn't great, but they had guys on that team. Like they had players, because it's Florida State. They're always going to have really good talent. And Florida State has the ACC Pitcher of the Year on that team, and I believe it's the Freshman of the Year in the ACC. Don't quote me on that, but I know they have the Pitcher of the Year. So they have talent, and that's going to be extremely tough. And then there's one that you brought up, and it was Arkansas, not necessarily because of the toughness of the regional, but just if I think Arkansas is maybe for real.
They're feeling themselves in Fayetteville right now. I'll tell you that right now. They are really confident in this team, and they should be. 46-10, winning all 10 of their SEC series and winning the tournament for the first time.
That was the first time they've ever won the SEC tournament.
For the first time. So they're feeling themselves. Do you think they would be? They should be? Do you think they're for real in that sense? The clear-cut best team in the country going into the NCAA tournament?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. They are feeling themselves, and my Twitter mentions can prove that. Their fans are very vocal.
Woo pig.
Very vocal about how their team is the best in the country, and they should be, because Arkansas is the best team in the country right now, and it has a lot to do with Kevin Kopps, who is just an absolute freak show at the back end of the bullpen, Arkansas, here's the deal. A lot of people look at Arkansas like they have Kopps. They don't have a lot of other good bullpen arms. That's not necessarily true. Arkansas does have some good bullpen arms, and their lineup is just full of freak shows. They can hit the ball all over the park, and they know how to play in that park at Baum Stadium, so that will help them out. They will be there until they go to Omaha. Can they hit the ball out as much as in Omaha? Man, we'll wait and see. It depends on what the wind's going to be doing there, because the ball just doesn't fly. But with Kevin Kopps, they have mastered this philosophy that's worked very well for them all year. And I talked about it a lot whenever Arkansas was getting ready to play LSU. Their goal is to get what they can get from their starter. Patrick Wicklander has been good and goes deep normally. Peyton Paulette, it depends on the week. But get what you can get from them and have the game be a 2-run deficit, tied or have the lead, and just give the ball to Kevin Kopps. And more times than not, you're going to win, because you're not going to score off of him. He has an ERA of 0.71 or something ridiculous like that. And like we said, that lineup, they are top 2 in the country in home runs. They also are very high in walks. I know they led the country in walks at one point this year. So they get a guy on, and then they hit the ball out of the park. That's just what they've done. So could that part fade in Omaha? Sure, maybe a little bit. But as long as they have that strategy and are able to execute it of be close, tied, or have the lead and just get the ball to Kopps, they're going to be tough to beat. And I think they're for real. And I think they are, for that reason, because they have that plan and it's worked, that's why I think they're the best team so far. They might not be the most talented. Vanderbilt's got guys up and down the bench. But Arkansas they have that plan, and they've just executed it to perfection all year long. They never lost a series. Since they lost 3 straight games, I believe it was in March, they never lost consecutive games again.
Jeez.
They're a remarkably consistent team.
It's June right now. That's a long time.
They're a remarkably consistent team, and you have to have consistency as much as you can in the game of baseball. And yeah, I do. I think Arkansas is for real. One more regional, and then we'll take a break. Florida. When we were talking about Kevin O'Sullivan earlier, and I said I thought they had a chance to make a run, the one team that's really going to get in their way is Miami. Miami, the first week of the season, went into Gainesville. It was the first week of their new ballpark. First week in there, and they beat them 2 out of 3 with 2 freshmen starting in the rotation. So Florida will definitely have a revenge factor there, but Miami has shown that they can win in that park against that team. So I think that will be a tough one. But I like Florida to come out of that regional still, too. Tennessee. You wanted me to talk about Tennessee, right?
The fighting Scott Kushners. That's right.
The fighting Scott Kushner. Scott Kushner has been a huge baseball guy here lately.
He has.
Anytime he's come on the station, touted Tennessee as a baseball school. And I would just like to say this. That's who the Oregon Regional is paired with. And those Tennessee fans are rooting for LSU to win that regional. They want LSU to come back to Knoxville just for the firecrackers that were thrown maybe post that series with talk about the atmosphere and whatnot, and those comments kind of blew up.
Paul Menari called into this very studio and made those very comments, and Tennessee fans were not happy about it.
They weren't. So they are rooting. They are hoping to show you what an actual nasty atmosphere is. And I know that LSU, in the same vein, would love to go back up there as well, because they competed for 3 games, and it was a play here and a play there.
And I'll tell you, Musso, when Paul was talking about that series, you could tell it really bothered him, and he has brought it up multiple times since it ended. Obviously, getting the result there for LSU would have been huge in terms of their tournament seeding and stuff, but you could tell that loss really bothered him. So if LSU is able to make it through and Tennessee is also able to make it through, that's another angle to keep an eye on.
Tennessee's got Duke in their regional, and Duke's been hot down the stretch here as well in the ACC. So the ACC was a really good league, and it, for a long time, was projected to have more teams in than the SEC. Didn't work out that way, but that's a good league, and Tennessee will need to get past Duke, and LSU, of course, will need to get past there. And look, if that matchup happens, I'm here for it, because I think it'd be a great matchup, full of fireworks and all the theater that you want in June college baseball. We're going to grab a break, our last break here of the second hour. And when we come back, fans got to chill. Like, they need to chill out. We're able to go to sporting events again, but act like you've been there. That's coming up next here on Middle Relief with Musso and Mario on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yo, Jacob Hester here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Center, the place that can be at your convenience during those inconvenient times. I know they've been that for me. I've got 4 boys, right? So sometimes stitches happen. And they have 6 convenient locations, 1 close to you to be able to be convenient for you. Remember, you can also check in online. PatientPlusUC.com is the website. That way you skip the line as well. Patient Plus Urgent Care Center. Get in and get better.
I'm feeling good. I just thought you should know.
Bayou Ford is open for business, and we want to earn your business. Stop in and see our selection of the latest Ford cars and trucks, as well as a variety of quality pre-owned vehicles, with prices starting as low as $5,000. Bayou Ford will get you the transparent information you're looking for, and when you're ready to purchase your new vehicle, provide the professional service you deserve. Located off I-10 on Belterre Boulevard in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Have you been issued a ticket for texting, speeding, or other traffic violations? Have you made a mistake? We all have. You're not a bad person. Call the law offices of O.C. Brown at 225-343-1111 or connect with us online at ocbrown.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. Have a great, safe, healthy Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be back after the holiday. So join us for Tuesday's AFR, 3 to 6. Happy Memorial Day. We'll see you Tuesday. 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back. Before we get into the last segment, a quick, programming note kind of. This will be my last segment every day because I have to go take care of AFR and prep for that show with Matt. So Mario is going to take you the rest of the way in the third hour. He's got some great guests coming up. Ken Trahan and Playboy Marty.
That's right.
Yeah.
On the night of Game 5, Suns-Lakers.
Playboy, he's got a vested interest in the Phoenix Suns, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think I've heard him talk about it a little bit before.
He's happy. He's pumped to be back in the playoffs.
I mean, and they're playing well. I mean, they're playing well. So we'll see if they can keep it up. Game 5 tonight, of course. But something that has kept up lately, fans being back allowed at sporting events, and they are making their presence known, whether it be in the stands at baseball games or NBA playoff games. Mario, what are they doing? I mean, is it really? Did people really forget just how to act in public after the pandemic?
Apparently so. This has been going on a couple of weeks, unfortunately. The most recent topic of this conversation is Kyrie Irving, obviously getting the water bottle thrown on him and his response. But just last week, you had Russell Westbrook getting popcorn dumped on him. You had Trae Young getting spit on. You had John Morant, according to his father, having to listen to some just nasty stuff from the stands. And I agree with you, man. Why can't we just act better? Everybody's there trying to have a good time. We talked about this with Andrew Lopez on Friday, and one very basic thing I think the NBA can do is I'm sure you've been to NBA games before, and at every one, at all 30 arenas, they have like a little disclaimer to where, don't go on the court during the game of play. Don't shout obscenities. Don't do all this. I think they need to take that a little bit more seriously, because whenever they do present that, they do it in kind of like a comic way, like they show movie clips and stuff. I think at the very bare minimum, what they can do is the NBA can come out with a little bit more stronger stance about respecting the players, respecting their space, because fans are part of what makes this great, but you got to know how to act.
Well, and the NBA of all leagues should do that, considering their past history with players and fans. I mean, that hurt the NBA for a long time, and now they're back, and I mean, they're one of the best things going. I mean, Adam Silver does a great job leading that league, and their viewership is strong. I mean, the NBA is very popular, but when you have an incident like they do in their past with the Malice at the Palace, and now you're seeing tensions between fans and players like you are, they need to come up with something. We mentioned Adam Silver does a great job leading that league. He needs to come up with something to try and get this under control. My favorite was the guy last night who tried to run onto the floor, because I don't understand what he was trying to accomplish. I really don't get it. What they were coming down to his end with the ball, like full speed. What was his goal? Like,
great job by security, by the way.
What is this dude gonna do? He's one man. You had 10 dudes running at you.
Again,
what was his goal?
Great job about the security, because if you watch the video, Musso, right when he's on the baseline, right before he's about to enter the court, your boy takes him down with the perfect form tackle.
And you know what? He should thank that guy, because he was probably going to get run over by an NBA fast break. I don't understand. In baseball right now, you got fans just attacking each other which I understand. Fans are going to fight each other in the stands. That's fine. And look, I'm not saying don't go to the game and not be just do it within reason. Like, absolutely heckle the opposing players. Just don't throw full water bottles of don't do that.
No,
that's not necessary.
I've said this before, Musso, but as you know, I have a lot of broadcasting obligations when LSU plays or when the Saints play and when the Pelicans played for a little bit whenever I worked for the team back in the day. And I tell people sometimes that, as much as I love what I do and this is my career, I sometimes miss being in the stands. Because being in the stands obviously is really fun. That's where all the true fans are. But when I've seen these clips, of these people at the baseball games and at NBA fans throwing stuff at players, it makes me not miss it as much.
Yeah, and look, I love heckling the players just as much as the next guy. It's fantastic. But you you just have to keep it in reason. I mean, act like we've been there before. Let's clean it up a little bit and have some fun. I mean, let them know you're there, but just don't run onto the. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when you get there? You're not an athlete. They are, but I don't know. It wouldn't have gone well for him. Let's just put it that way.
Reminds me of the guy that snuck onto the Pelicans game while they were warming up in full warm-ups and everything a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
that
it's
was
like,
great.
Did he have the warm-up on?
Yeah.
Oh, see, now I respect that. That's hilarious. All right, that's going to do it for the first 2 hours of the show. I'm going to head out. Mario is going to take you the rest of the way. Couple guests coming up. Ken Trahan, right? Mario leading you off?
Yes, sir. Leading off, 2 o'clock.
This is Middle Relief with Mario and Musso, but not just Mario on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A certified pre-owned vehicle means that it's been certified by factory-trained technicians. It meets a stringent criteria of over 155-point inspection. We want to make sure that vehicle is mechanically sound and that we have a warranty to back it up. There's no mileage limitation. You can be assured that you're driving a vehicle, you got a good value, you'll get that special financing, those special incentives on certain models, and some of the other amenities that you get with the certified pre-owned vehicle.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Injury Lawyers. Middle Relief. Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now, let's go to the bullpen. Here's Mario Jerez and Matt Musso.
Welcome in to the final hour of Middle Relief with Mario and Musso, minus the Musso for this hour. We talked a lot of baseball the first 2 hours. This hour, I'll have some thoughts on the NBA. Playboy Marty of Barstool Sports, our good friend, will be here at 2:30. We're going to preview Lakers and Suns Game 5. That series a little bit more interesting now with Anthony Davis's injury and Chris Paul maybe recovering from his injury, but either way, playing a lot better for Phoenix. They tie that series at 2. We'll get into all that in the final hour. Also, Ask Mario for the last segment. Hashtag Ask Mario will be at 2:45, so get your questions in to the YouTube chat. But first, it's time to welcome on our first guest of, should we call this Middle Relief OTK? As Musso said, the last hour of the show will be me every day going forward, and we'll have some guests, including Ken Trahan of Crescent City Sports. Ken, I can't host this show without mentioning how much you've kind of helped me throughout my broadcast career, and I'm very happy to have my own show here on ESPN Radio Baton Rouge today, and I'm very happy to have you coming on it. How you doing today?
Well, that's very kind of you, but I couldn't be happier for you, and you more than deserve it, and I'm sure you'll do extremely well. Those are some very intelligent people to put you in that position, my friend. So great to be with you, and let's roll. Hey, why can't I talk about baseball?
Because we're talking Saints this segment, Ken, and I'm the host of the show, and I made the rules.
Fire away. Knock yourself out. It's okay.
Just messing. I know you got some thoughts on Paul Menari, so I guess let's start there. You've covered him before. We've been talking all day about how kind of good he treats media members and the mutual respect that media members in Baton Rouge and across the state have with Paul Menari. So what do you remember about Paul as he gets ready for his last run at the NCAA tournament with this LSU team?
Well, I've been around long enough to have known Paul when he played at the University of New Orleans, so I became friends with him. Therefore, there's a caveat to this whole story. So as a result, there is a personal relationship which pre-existed him being a coach. I've always had the utmost respect for him as a person. I've always had the utmost respect for him as a coach. And I have the utmost respect for him as he exits the program with so much class, with doing what he's doing at the proper time, as he said, to try to allow the program to take another step forward. He's doing this in unselfish fashion. He wasn't forced out, and I just have so much respect for how he handled that. Look, it's a very difficult job to be in. Anybody that sits in that chair is always going to be held to the esteem of Skip Bertman. It's not fair. No one's ever going to do what Skip did again. And on top of that, it was Skip that hired Paul. So that was a double whammy of sorts. And as Paul stated, he's disappointed they didn't win more than one national championship, he and everybody else. But it's so much more difficult to do that now than it was when Skip coached. And that's not to demean anything that Skip accomplished. But what Skip did was he showed everybody in the SEC and other programs around the country that if you made the commitment to baseball, you could get the results. Well, you can see what happened in the SEC. Others followed suit. They made the financial commitment. They've had incredible success. It's a beast of a league. It's very difficult to navigate. And, of course, I think Paul's done it in very good fashion, and he deserves to be looked upon in very favorable fashion as he exits.
Were you surprised at the timing of the announcement, Ken, the Friday retirement press conference that Paul Menari had ahead of the NCAA tournament? Because around here, I think we've kind of seen the writing on the wall, but quite a few people surprised that he made the announcement when he did.
I was a little bit surprised, but not totally. And I think the fact that he, again, stated that he wanted to give Scott Woodward all the time in the world to find his successor made a lot of sense. By making the announcement when he did, he arrested the development of what might have transpired otherwise after the fact. No one knew if they'd be in the tournament to begin with. They are, and they got in a little bit easier than we all thought. But the fact of the matter is that now, look, they've got their ducks in a row. They know who their targets are. It's very clear, and a few of those guys are still coaching as we speak in the tournament. Therefore, it provides them with the time to float the buoy. Look, what we've learned from LSU and Scott Woodward is they're going to pay. Just ask Kim Mulkey, okay? They're going to pay whoever they want to get at the highest price to come to a place where you can win and be successful. And with regard to baseball, again, top attendance annually, pre-pandemic, elite program, and that's why a guy like Kevin O'Sullivan would be interested, because at Florida, he's going to have the ability to get even better players than LSU gets because of the incredible plethora of talent in that state. But what you don't have there is the incredible fan base. Even though Florida built a new facility, you've got an incredible facility in Baton Rouge, and you've got unbelievable support, which he has seen firsthand. I'm not saying he's going to be the guy, but certainly that would be a good reason for him to make that move. Of course, Vitello is a really good coach at Tennessee. He's young. He's got a tremendous resume. I'd go after him in a heartbeat as well, although Texas A&M certainly appears to be doing so. And then when you look at Mike Bianco, you're talking about an LSU guy who has not been able to crack that Omaha code, but he's built a consistently good program at Ole Miss where they don't have the option to get the players that even LSU has because of Mississippi State. So, look, there are some really good candidates out there. This is an elite job. You'll draw interest from everywhere. They're going to get a hell of a coach.
Ken Trahan of Crescent City Sports joining us here on Middle Relief with Mario and Musso, talking a little bit of LSU baseball. The Tigers getting ready to take on Gonzaga in the NCAA tournament this Friday night at 9 o'clock. Some really interesting thoughts you had about Kevin O'Sullivan there, Ken. We'll have to revisit that at a later time, but for right now, I wanted to have you on and talk a little bit Saints, and I know you've been breaking down Jameis Winston's game a lot this offseason, and Taysom Hill too, and maybe how he's still in the battle for that starting quarterback spot, but for a moment, I want to reminisce on Drew Brees and maybe talk about the challenges that the Saints are going to face in this new post-Drew Brees world. I mean, you know it, Ken. This is the first time we're entering a new season, a new NFL season, and the Saints have a quarterback not named Drew Brees since 2005. The last time the Saints entered a season with a QB not named Brees, I was in 5th grade at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton High School in Kenner, which I know you're really familiar with. And I'm now 26 years old and hosting my own radio show. So it's been a really long time. It's going to be weird for Saints fans, I think, from the start of the season, seeing somebody besides number 9 quarterback in the team. So whether it's Jameis, whether it's Taysom, what challenges will replacing Drew Brees present for the Saints in 2021?
Well, the oldest axiom of sports is never follow a legend, right? So oftentimes the first guy that does not succeed. The second or third does. In that particular realm, that's why you've got 2 quarterbacks in Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill that are on 1-year deals. Because, number one, the Saints aren't sure that either one is that guy long-term. And number 2, it does allow for the opportunity to invest. Look, they did invest in Ian Book, so you can't dismiss his chances long-term. They like him. He's accurate. He's smart. He's won a lot of games. And he's got intangibles they really like. He's not tall, much like Drew Brees. And some would question his arm strength, whether he can make all the NFL throws. But the Saints obviously like him, and you got to consider him in the mix. But you've got to consider Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill in the mix. Both bring a lot to the table that are different. If you ask me today who the guy would be, I think it would be Winston, based upon his experience in the league, the fact that he has won games and he has made big throws. Of course, we all know about the turnover issues and not winning, but this is a different organization and different coaching. And he's a different guy. There's a maturity level that's taken place personally, and you would hope professionally as well. We're about to find that out, right? And then with Taysom Hill, he started 4 games, won 3 last year, did a nice job overall, 1 really good game, 1 game that wasn't very good, and then the other 2 kind of in between. Look, I do think this, had the Saints gone 4-0 with Hill last year, and had he been good every step of the way, I don't think we'd be having this conversation. I think he'd be the guy. But that wasn't the case, and that's not to say that he didn't do a solid job. He did. Let's not forget Teddy Bridgewater went 5-0 the previous year when given the opportunity. I would think that Winston would have the edge, but I do think it's an open competition. And with regard to how it's handled, the best coaches in every sport tailor their players to their skills, not tailor their players to a system. The coaches that fail all the time are the ones that try to fit a square peg in a round hole, which is to say you take a player and try to fit him into a scheme that doesn't necessarily fit him. We all know what Taysom Hill can do. Therefore, if he's your guy, your offense is going to change dramatically from what it was with Drew Brees. It'll look a lot more like the Ravens offense, for instance. If it's Jameis Winston, the offense is also going to change because it's going to be a more vertical passing game than it was under Drew Brees. But what Jameis Winston has to learn is to accept the checkdowns and take that 4 or 5 yard gain. You don't have to hit the home run on every play. I think if he learns that well through coaching, he can be good. And where Hill's concerned, I think it's decision-making. I think he has the arm. He certainly has the athletic ability. It becomes a matter of making good decisions. We saw last year he held the ball too long, too many turnovers, fumbles, in particular when he held the ball. And you just have to make quicker, smarter decisions. So, look, both bring good elements to the table. I'm not here to tell you that either one is going to be the guy in 2022, which is why both are on one-year deals.
Should be interesting to see. Ken Trahan is our guest. Ken Trahan of Crescent City Sports here on Middle Relief with Mario and Musso. Ken, whether it's Jameis or whether it's Taysom, they're going to be throwing the ball to some wide receivers that are not very proven. You know what you have in Michael Thomas, but opinions kind of fluctuate when you talk about Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway becoming a more steady option. I've heard people kind of talking about the Saints not subscribing to kind of the traditional wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 rotation. Once you get past the primary receiver, it kind of depends on the game plan and the opponent, right? Coming up that week, but that was during the Drew Brees era. So when I go back to my last question and where the Saints will miss him, that might be an area where they do miss him. So my question to follow up that observation is, how do you feel about the wide receiver room? Do you feel they can have success there?
I think they're okay. I don't have a flowery description to give you or any glowing description about how good they are, because I think it's just okay. Michael Thomas is Michael Thomas. Traquan Smith has done some good things. Look, he's a good blocker in the run game. He can catch the ball pretty well when you throw it his way. It's simply a matter of whether you can get enough separation and make enough plays and stay healthy to do so. The expectation is he would be the guy to step up and be their second wide receiver. But when you look at pass catching, it's really all about options. I don't look so much at the entire wide receiver core. I look at who your options are in the passing game. So where the Saints are concerned, we know Michael Thomas is option A or option 1A because Alvin Kamara is that other guy who figures that much in the passing game. So then you also have to take a look at tight end. You've had Jared Cook most recently. The results were good but not great. They were mixed, and they'll always be checkered by some drops. And then, of course, the crucial fumble in the playoff game with Tampa Bay, which will be the last memory and not a good one because it changed the season. Adam Troutman is going to be counted on to step up and be that guy. We don't know what he can be yet. There's some promise there, but last year, having no real offseason kind of stunted the rookie growth process. The same with Zach Vaughn. Cesar Ruiz had to play, so that was a little bit different. But we're not sure about Troutman yet and what you get. And then the wild card is Deontay Harris because of his natural speed, which is elite, and how he can get down the field. It seems to me you can utilize that more with a guy like Winston who can get the ball vertical. The question is, do you want to play Harris a lot, or how many snaps do you want to give him at wideout because he's an elite kick returner, maybe the best in the league when he's healthy? So you take away one portion of your game to try to add to another. I guess that's the question about Harris. So the answer to the question is I think their receiving core is okay, and it really does depend on one more guy stepping up, whether that's Smith, whether that's Callaway, whether that's Troutman, or whether it's Harris. There's got to be another guy step up and be a very productive player. Last year that was Emmanuel Sanders. He's not here anymore. So, yes, they do need someone to step up in that role.
I'm hoping it's Marquez Callaway. I'm partial to guys that went to Tennessee and maybe weren't utilized as well as they could have been. So I'm a little bullish on Marquez Callaway, but we'll see. I've been kind of really adamant with that opinion on the Spanish broadcast, but we'll see. Definitely still some guys that need to prove their way in the NFL. Ken, I know you got an event to get to with the Saints Hall of Fame, but I assume you're a lot more busy with doing events and stuff because fans are going to be back in the Superdome this year, full capacity it looks like. How excited are you for that after the Superdome looked kind of like a mausoleum for 8 games last season?
Yeah, it's kind of weird when you're sitting in the press box at the Superdome, which is at the very top of the building to give people perspective. That's a long way away from the playing field, and yet you're sitting out there last year, the games I was at, and you can actually hear the players on the field. That's really strange, okay? That was a highly unusual experience. You got a little bit used to it after one game, but it was strange. No, it's going to be great to have fans back. Obviously, that's a big deal. And then in addition to that, look, the Saints Hall of Fame, we're in the Dome, and the renovations kind of shut us down there. We've got plans to reopen it here by next year, which we'll reveal very soon. And then we just had our Saints Hall of Fame Celebrity Golf Classic last Monday at Chateau Country Club in Kenner and sold it out. And Coach Payton and Mickey Loomis were great, along with all of our prominent former players that were on hand. So, yeah, we're back in business, back doing events. back enjoying things, back living life. That's a great thing. And again, that means more work, but guess what? That's a good thing too.
And hopefully the Saints are back in the playoffs in 2021. We'll see what happens. That is Ken Trahan of Crescent City Sports, my good friend and my first guest here in the final hour of Middle Relief. Ken, thank you so much. Have a great day, man.
All right, Mario, great to see you doing this, and whatever we can do to help, we're here to do it, buddy.
Yes, sir. We know we'll have you back on the show eventually. Next segment, we're going to talk a little bit of NBA and set up our interview with Playboy Marty of Barstool Sports. That's coming up at 2:30. I have thoughts on the playoff game last night, and I have thoughts on Chris Paul, who has his team back tied 2-2 with the LA Lakers in the Western Conference semifinals. We'll get into all that coming up next. Middle Relief with Mario and Musso, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Have you been arrested for DUI or other traffic violations? Have you made a mistake? We all have. You're not a bad person. Call the law offices of O.C. Brown at 225-343-1111 or connect with us online at ocbrown.com.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hanging with Hanny. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Can you feel it? Spring is almost here, and if you got a new boat for Christmas or you just want to take your boat to a new level, you want front-to-back boat service, HD displays, live sonar that show the fish before you cast, trolling motors. At front to back, they got not one, but two NMEA certified techs for all of your marine electronic needs. How does a brand new speaker system sound? Well, guess what? They do that too. So call 225-928-9644 or go to front to back boat service.
Bayou Ford is open for business, and we want to earn your business. Stop in and see our selection of the latest Ford cars and trucks, as well as a variety of quality pre-owned vehicles, with prices starting as low as $5,000. Bayou Ford will get you the transparent information you're looking for, and when you're ready to purchase your new vehicle, provide the professional service you deserve. Located off I-10 on Belterre Boulevard in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Coming up on Wednesdays Off the Bench, Players Only Club, as we spend an hour flustering with Matt Flynn. Jeremy Hill stops by to break down the Tigers in the NFL. And a brand new Would You Rather Wednesday. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the inaugural edition of Mario and Musso, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. As Musso mentioned the last hour, or as he explained to y'all the last hour, going forward it'll be me and Matt, 12 to 2, and I'll close the show out 2 to 3 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday, as Musso handles his AFR responsibilities, getting ready to produce Matt Moscona, who's coming up next on these very airwaves. Wanted to talk a little bit of NBA this segment before we get to Playboy Marty. We will, but before I get to that, a little bit of news broke. Not really breaking news, but this broke as we were coming on the air today. Florida football coach Dan Mullen has received a 3-year contract extension that's through the 2026 season, and it's going to raise his annual salary to $7.6 million a year. That'll make him, of course, the third highest paid coach in 2021 in the conference, behind the Crimson Emperor, Nick Saban, and LSU head coach Ed Orgeron. The salary also ranks him number 5 nationally, so that's a $1.5 million raise if you crunch the numbers. After he took Florida to the SEC championship game, of course, they lost in the shoe game, the infamous shoe game to LSU, and they lost to Alabama in the championship game. Dan Mullen, I think, lost a lot of respect from a lot of people, I think myself included, towards the end of last season. It was clear that Florida was not ready to play that game against LSU, and Kyle Trask, or not Kyle Trask, but the tight end whose name is escaping me, Kyle Pitts, was upset after that game because apparently he felt like he was ready to play. Dan Mullen and the Florida staff disagreed with him. He put up a tweet saying, "Wow," after that game. So I think kind of a lot of conflicting opinions maybe here, but no doubt Dan Mullen's a great head coach. He's a great head coach. He's a really good coach. We saw what he did at Mississippi State. He has a really good offensive mind. But all I'm saying is last year that Florida team was pretty good. They were maybe good enough to win the title. And not only did they not do that, but they fell flat on their face losing that shoe game to LSU. And we'll see what the future holds at Gainesville, but they extend Dan Mullen for 3 more years. He gets a $1.5 million raise, and he is the third highest paid coach in the Southeastern Conference. So Dan Mullen remains at Florida. Let's get into a little bit of NBA talk to set up this interview coming up with Playboy Marty. How about Chris Paul last night in Game 4 against the Los Angeles Lakers? Played really well after he was really hampered by that injury. Still seems a little bit hampered by that arm injury that he suffered early in the series. But I think this is a series again. You know, when Chris Paul went down early and Anthony Davis was still healthy, it seemed like this was over. But this series is far from over, now being tied 2-2. Game 5 in Phoenix tonight. And I got to say, I got a lot of respect for CP3. And you guys know me, and you know my affinity for the Pelicans. And we've had this talk with T-Bob on his show before about Chris Paul leaving New Orleans and all this. But I don't put him in the same vein as Anthony Davis. Because, yes, both of those guys left New Orleans. Both of those guys demanded their way out via trade. But Chris Paul did it with a lot more class than Anthony Davis did. You know, I don't think anybody blames AD for wanting out of the Pelicans, but just kind of the way he went about it. You know, That's All Folks t-shirt, making Drew Holiday and Alvin Gentry answer for him on the day that he demanded the trade instead of just facing the music and facing the media himself. Just 2 completely different situations. So I don't fault AD for wanting to leave, but maybe the manner in which he did it wasn't very good. I did not see that in Chris Paul when he left New Orleans. And just like he did for the Hornets, the then Hornets, back when he joined the team, he makes every single team he joins a lot better. I mean, you saw it from Phoenix last year. They were a fringe playoff team that made a run in the bubble. I believe they won 8 games in a row, but fell just short of the playoffs. But that was enough for Chris Paul. That was enough for him to see the potential there. He obviously already knows Monty Williams really well, having played for him back in New Orleans. And it's been a really good connection so far. And I think Monty Williams has to really admire Chris Paul's willingness and Chris Paul's heart to play through this injury, because Chris Paul, talking to ESPN after that Game 4 against the Lakers, mentioned a conversation that he had with Monty Williams. And if we can cue up this sound, Cade, Monty Williams did not want Chris Paul to play against the Lakers in Game 4, but he pushed through.
Been a lot going on Met with Coach before the game, told me he was going to sit me. Told me he was going to sit me tonight. I told him, hell nah, just give me a couple minutes, see what I can do. God is good. You know what I mean? I come from a praying family. My mom and my daddy all day long prayed for me, and it's just a game. People got a lot of tougher things going on, but I love to play this game. So just to get out there and be able to do this with my team, it's 2-2. Still got a lot of work to do.
18 points and 9 assists in the Game 4 victory for Chris Paul. Devin Booker and Jay Crowder also doing their thing, 17 points apiece for the Phoenix Suns. And I got to say, Monty's doing a really good job with this team. It's not just Chris Paul getting there and he's the de facto coach. The role players around Chris Paul have all fit in really nicely. And a lot of that credit has to go to Monty Williams. Again, Game 5, again tonight in Phoenix. They'll try to break that tie between the Lakers and the Suns. One other observation I had from the NBA weekend before we get to Playboy Marty is Kawhi Leonard. He deserves a lot of props because there was a lot of Kawhi Leonard slander last week when his Clippers were down 2-0 to the fighting Luka Doncic's, a.k.a. the Dallas Mavericks, and they dropped both of those games at home. And a lot of people were getting on a lot of their friends for ever saying that Kawhi Leonard was the best player in the NBA, which is a take we've heard fair amount the last couple of years since he won Finals MVP with the Raptors. Was not playing very well to start this series, but man, has he responded. They tied the series up after Game 4 due to the Clippers. Kawhi had 29 points and 10 rebounds. He's averaging 33 points per game this series. And if you're watching the games, there's a big difference between Games 3 and 4 of this series compared to Games 1 and 2 in Kawhi's dribble penetration. He's having a lot easier time getting to the rim, and that's opening up things a lot for his teammates. We mentioned the last two games. If you combine his stats in Games 3 and 4 against the Mavericks, he made 24 out of 32 shots. So Boorman getting paid, Kawhi Leonard playing really well, and maybe alleviating some of that flack that he caught last week after his team was down 0-2. Moving on to some stuff I did not like from the NBA weekend really quick. I think LeBron is just doing a little bit too much, man. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and I like watching LeBron play. I think I'll miss him when he's gone, but I think it's getting a little bit out of control with some of his complaining. That there was a really bad play or bad look for LeBron, I think, when Jay Crowder from the Phoenix Suns wrapped him up from behind. He just got him from like his shoulder. It was nothing dangerous. And LeBron made such a big deal about it after. And Jeff Van Gundy made a huge deal about it on the broadcast too, saying, oh, this isn't a flagrant foul, but I don't know why it should be. And, LeBron is LeBron. He's second best player of all time, best player in the NBA right now. But I think it's starting to become a little aggravating. The way I'll explain it is I remember Draymond Green a couple years ago when the Warriors were still really good, mind you, was talking about a conversation he had with his mom. And Draymond Green's mom was telling him, hey, son, you're playing really well, but you're complaining too much. You need to stop all this flopping, all this complaining, all the flailing of your arms. And then Draymond Green watched those same games and ended up agreeing with his mom. He's like, okay, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Maybe you can't tell when you watch Draymond Green play, but I think maybe LeBron James' mom should have a similar situation with his son because all that extracurricular stuff is starting to get a little bit annoying. And obviously I didn't like the fans. We talked about it with Musso, so I won't go too far into it here. But NBA fans need to control themselves, need to do better. What happened in Boston, what happened in Philadelphia, it cannot happen going forward. So hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we're able to continue enjoying these NBA playoffs. I know my man Playboy Marty has. His Suns are in it for the first time in a while. He is having a lot of fun watching the point guard Chris Paul go toe-to-toe with the LA Lakers in the first round of the Western Conference Finals. We'll talk to him. Martin Black, Playboy Marty of Barstool Sports. When we get back, Middle Relief, Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
What if you could truly energize your body and mind from the most fundamental level? Your cells. Cellivate is a revolutionary, health-aware approach to energy, focus, and mood enhancement, packing everything you need to optimize your mind and body from the inside out. The unique formula combines top-notch cellular energizers, nootropics, herbal extracts, and powerful antioxidants, all in one sugar-free 12-ounce can. Elevate your cells. Cellivate.
50 years ago on Easter Sunday, Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo proudly opened our doors, and we've been hopping ever since. 5 decades of connecting people with animals, teaching our community about the problems facing wildlife and how we can help. and working with zoos across the world to protect endangered species. Today, our future is taking flight by stretching the possibilities of what your zoo can become, while we keep it fun and affordable for everyone. Thanks for coming along.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. Have a great, safe, healthy Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be back after the holiday. So join us for Tuesday's AFR, 3 to 6. Happy Memorial Day. We'll see you Tuesday. 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back in Middle Relief with Mario and Musso. Final hour of the show. Next segment, we will have hashtag Ask Mario in the YouTube chat. So please get your questions in starting right now. But first, it's time to talk a little bit more NBA with my next guest, my good friend and my former co-worker, Playboy Marty of Barstool Sports. Thank you so much for coming on today, Marty. How you doing, man?
Good, Mario. Congratulations on the show, man. This is sick. I'm so excited for you boys. Honored to be on the first one.
Thank you. I'm very pumped. And if you were listening to the first 2 hours, we were really baseball heavy. That theme will probably continue with Musso being here the first 2 hours. But you know how I feel about NBA. I love NBA, and we're going to talk a lot about it on the third hour here on Middle Relief with Mario and Musso, as I blanked on the name for some reason. Playboy Marty, but before we get into the game tonight, you've gotten to experience Chris Paul point guarding your team. And from experience, I know how much fun that can be. You've seen the turnaround. I mentioned it the last segment. The Suns a fringe playoff team. Didn't quite make the playoffs last year, but they did have a run in the bubble. They ended some season with momentum, and that was enough for Chris Paul to join the squad. Before we get into this game tonight, what's it been like having CP3 as point guard of the Phoenix Suns?
It's been amazing, man. He is just an absolute deity, and I feel so bad because I was not a Chris Paul fan for basically his entire career, especially that Clippers run. I really didn't like him, so I just want to take back everything bad I ever said about the man. It is the control he has over the court for a 6-foot-tall 35-year-old is just absolutely insane. And we could go on and on and on, but what's so insane about this series that no one's really talking about is that he's basically reshaping his game in the middle of a playoff series against LeBron James and the defending champion Lakers. Like, his shoulder, he does not have full motion, like, at all. He's got, like, 1 1/4 shoulders right now. And he's altering his shots. You know how he usually takes those jumpers to the left, to the right on the drive? He's been going left now and shooting. He did this, like, 3 or 4 times in Game 4, and he hadn't done that all year, really. So he's just completely changing what he does. And, yeah, he just dictates the whole game. He's nothing short of amazing.
And a lot of the chatter tonight, Playboy Marty is going to be around the status of Anthony Davis. Obviously, doesn't look like he's going to be able to go. But I thought Mark Jackson, towards the end of the last broadcast, made a really good point that even when Anthony Davis has been playing, DeAndre Ayton, Game 2, he was really good after the first bad game was Anthony Davis. But for a lot of this series, DeAndre Ayton's kind of been giving him the business, man. I've been really impressed with his play. And I think he's kind of been in a rough spot since his career started. You know, obviously, the Suns drafting him number 1 overall when Luka Doncic and Trae Young were both still on the board. But he's low-key had a really nice career, and he's a big reason why the Suns are still in this series.
Yeah, he's had some maturity problems, and certainly, when you get drafted ahead of a guy like Luka, you're going to get grief over it, and he's certainly heard it. But, yeah, no, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of Ayton. So I do have some stats to go with it. He's got 21 points, 16 rebounds Game 1, 22-10 Game 2, 22-11 Game 3, 14-17 Game 4, and he hasn't missed more than 4 shots in a single game. Like, his shooting percentage has been insane. He's just stayed in his comfort zone, and he's played good defense and run the floor. That's by far, to me, the coolest part about this series is just DeAndre Ayton becoming a man, like, right in front of our eyes.
I was talking about Kawhi Leonard the last segment, Playboy Marty, and I just want to get your thoughts on the Clippers really quick because I was laughing at them last week. I think it was just unreal arrogance displayed by a franchise that has never even been to a conference finals ever since last year. And they bowed out, and all of NBA Twitter, which is very rarely unified, was unified last year when the Clippers blew that 3-1 lead. When they blew that 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets. But I got to give Ty Lue and Kawhi Leonard and all that team props because they were in a really tough spot after dropping the first 2 games at home against Dallas. Got to be really impressed by the response by the Clippers.
Yeah, definitely. So I was talking a lot of smack about Ty Lue on my podcast this week. Last week, I'll be honest about it. I've never really thought that was a really smart decision that Ty Lue made. I've never really had that thought. But going small against these Mavs, who are just giant. When you look at the Mavs, like Jalen Brunson is like their only short guy, and he just went out. They really didn't play Zubac that much. I think they started Nick Batum at the 5, and. Yeah, no, and it is kind of funny that the status of the LA teams kind of got flipped, in like 2 days.
That'll happen. LA, man, not too much real about that city, at least from what I've seen. Speaking of, I'm trying to transition there and to talk about LeBron's flopping, but I'm not. It's not coming to me.
All right.
What are your thoughts on LeBron James? I don't know if I want to call it flopping, but kind of just how much he's been complaining to the refs because it's gotten to the point, Marty, where it's gotten annoying watching the games. And I referenced the play last segment against Phoenix when Jay Crowder was beat. Yeah. He was beat on the dribble drive by LeBron, and he did the right thing. He wrapped him up by the shoulder. He held him secure. He made sure he wasn't going anywhere. It was a picture-perfect hard playoff foul for me. But after that happened, LeBron got in Crowder's face, and Crowder gave him a stare back like, are you serious, man? And then Jeff Van Gundy on the broadcast took it one step further and was like, this should not be a flagrant foul, but I don't know why it shouldn't be. That's ridiculous to me. Do you think LeBron's doing a little bit too much with all these extracurriculars?
Yeah, I mean, he involves himself with the refs too much, and Luka does the same thing. Honestly, Luka drives me absolutely nuts with this. That particular play, yeah, I mean, I guess he did kind of grab his shoulders and wasn't really going for the ball that much, which you could argue. We actually saw a very similar play with Russell Westbrook and Ben Simmons last night, and was also ruled a common foul. So if they're being consistent about it, I'm actually more than okay with it. You know. So, yeah, if a guy's going up, and actually I don't think LeBron had quite started he had started his gather, but he hadn't quite left off the floor yet. If you're going to allow guys to do that, good. You know, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and I remember a sequence a little bit before that happened, Marty, where Gasol had a really hard foul on DeAndre Ayton, which I thought was a little bit worse than the one Crowder applied to LeBron James, but not a big deal. I just think it's starting to get a little aggravating. I told the story about Draymond Green. I don't know if you remember this story a couple years ago when he said his mom was watching the games and his mom gave him a call and was like, Draymond, you're doing awesome, but you're doing a little bit too much after the plays, man. And he sat down and watched it, and he ended up agreeing with his mom. So maybe LeBron and Gloria could do something similar there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I didn't. I did not remember that. That is funny. But going back to LeBron, another thing on the play of the game that sealed it, we got a rebound. I won't say we, the Suns are up 7 with like a minute and a half left. Ayton gets the rebound, dishes it out, and LeBron kind of shoves him from the back. And if that had been reversed, like if LeBron had been shoved from the back, he would have gone like 3 seats into the bleachers. And instead, we pushed it and got a wide open corner 3 for Crowder because they sat back, and that was the play that really sealed the game. But going up 10 with a minute and a half left, that was really the play of the game. So it ends up hurting him.
Playboy Marty of Barstool Sports joining us here on Middle Relief with Mario and Musso. Before I let you go, Marty, your thoughts on the game tonight? Obviously, it was looking really good for the Suns after Game 1 up until CP3's injury. We thought this series was maybe over, but now AD's health is in question. Phoenix has home court advantage once again. Lots going on leading up to this one. What are your feelings on Game 5 in Phoenix tonight?
I think AD being out, I mean, obviously is massive, but maybe even more to this Suns team. Like, he has killed us in the regular season and was playing insanely well in this. And a big part of why I think Devin Booker has been neutralized is because AD shifts so well and is able to help out, and on top of that, they're double teaming him left and right. But when you try to replace that with Kyle Kuzma or Markieff Morris, I'm expecting Devin Booker to have a very good game tonight. So I'll throw a little bit of a gambling take on this. If you want a nice, fun prop bet, Devin Booker points, probably worth looking at.
Hey, I was looking at, this is completely random and not having to do with basketball at all, but I was looking at a prop bet in Las Vegas that apparently has a lot of money coming in, which is over under Tim Tebow, 2.5 touchdowns for the Jacksonville Jaguars this season. Apparently a lot of the money is coming in for the under, but while I have you on the show, what's your take on over under Tim Tebow, 2.5 touchdowns for the Jags this season?
I'll go over. I'll show faith.
Okay.
I'll show faith in Timmy.
All right. Should be interesting to see. That's, man, a lot of takes are going to come from that, and we're going to talk about that prop bet more on this station and on this show, I'm sure. That is Martin Black, Playboy Marty of Barstool Sports, joining us here on Middle Relief. Playboy Marty, thanks so much. Good luck to your Phoenix Suns tonight, man. Definitely rooting for y'all.
Thanks, Mario. Appreciate it. Best of luck to you and Musso.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That is Playboy Marty of Barstool Sports. When we get back, we'll have our first ever Ask Mario segment. Hashtag Ask Mario in the YouTube chat. Get your questions in. Looks like we already have a couple. I will answer them to wrap up the show. This is Middle Relief with Mario and Musso. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All Star Toyota today.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Can you feel it? Spring is almost here, and if you got a new boat for Christmas or you just want to take your boat to a new level, you want front-to-back boat service, HD displays, live sonar that show the fish before you cast, trolling motors. At front to back, they got not one, but two NMEA certified techs for all of your marine electronic needs. How does a brand new speaker system sound? Well, guess what? They do that too. So call 225-928-9644 or go to front to back boat service.
50 years ago on Easter Sunday, Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo proudly opened our doors, and we've been hopping ever since. 5 decades of connecting people with animals, teaching our community about the problems facing wildlife and how we can help, and working with zoos across the world to protect endangered species. Today, our future is taking flight by stretching the possibilities of what your zoo can become, while we keep it fun and affordable for everyone. Thanks for coming along.
Have you been arrested for DUI or other traffic violations? Have you made a mistake? We all have. You're not a bad person. Call the law offices of O.C. Brown at 225-3...
Coming up on Wednesdays Off the Bench, Players Only Club, as we spend an hour flustering with Matt Flynn. Jeremy Hill stops by to break down the Tigers in the NFL. And a brand new Would You Rather Wednesday. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Middle Relief with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Final segment here on the inaugural edition of Middle Relief with Mario and Musso, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Shout out to all our guests for coming on today. Ken Trahan of Crescent City Sports, Len Rollins, broadcaster in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and old Playboy Marty, Martin Black, who was on last segment. Had a lot of fun watching or talking NBA. We'll have some more fun watching NBA tonight as the playoffs continue to roll on. But first, we're going to wrap up the show with a little bit of hashtag Ask Mario. That's going to be the last segment of the show going forward. Of course, Cade and Paul will also be asked to participate. So let's get into it and dive right in. First one from Nookie. Interesting question. Nookie says, hashtag Ask Mario. Would you prefer sports questions or, quote, off the beaten path rando questions? To answer your question, Nookie, I'm cool with either, man. Sports is, I think, definitely preferred in this situation, and I don't have too much life experience. I mean, I'm 26 years old. I don't have any kids. I'm not married. But if you want some life advice, hey, I'm your man. So whatever you want to ask, just get in the chat. Hashtag Ask Mario. Moving on to the next one. Shout out to Craig Schilling, man. Craig Schilling, you're a beast. Keep doing what you're doing. National Oscar the Grouch Day. What's the best children's learning show of all time? Apparently today is National Oscar the Grouch Day. I think I'm partial to Sesame Street. I liked Sesame Street when I was little. Cade has a little one. What's your thought on the best children's learning show ever?
I don't know if I can speak to best all time because it changes every day at the house. She's very adept to the iPad, and we can switch back and forth. But from a historical perspective, from where I grew up watching Sesame Street was huge. But Mr. Rodgers he's on the Mount Rushmore. I think he's one of the GOATs of all time, and his stuff continues today on PBS through like Daniel Tiger, which my daughter loves. So I got to give a shout out to the legend, the great Fred Rodgers.
The GOAT. I think that's fair. Hashtag Ask Mario. Is it true that you run the Not Matt Moscona Twitter account? Not only is that not true, but he actually messaged me congratulating me for having this show with Musso. So shout out to @NotMattMoscona on Twitter. It is not me. Hashtag Ask Mario. What plans do you have to create some conflict with Musso to help drive the ratings up? We're not going to create any conflict, but I do look forward to having some debates with Musso. I mean, we kind of agreed on everything today, but there's going to come some moments where we don't agree on his match. I guess we were kind of in disagreement about Aaron Rodgers and what we think will happen. But don't worry, there's going to be some debate between me and Musso. None of it will be forced, so we don't have to do any of that. Dat Cajun in the chat, hashtag Ask Mario, sweet or dill pickles? Dill pickles are the normal ones, right? So, yeah, I'm going to go with dill pickles. You guys have an opinion, Paul or Cade, on sweet or dill pickles? Are you guys big pickle guys?
I like bread and butter pickles.
Go with the hamburger dill for my sandwiches on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So that's all I'll say.
I had heard they're a healthy snack, so maybe eat more pickles.
My sister and friends, they do they like drinking pickled juice. I'm not a big fan of that, but I don't know, whatever floats your boat.
Hashtag Ask Mario. Rank your favorite sports: college football, NFL, NBA, college baseball, etc. This one's really tough because I love football and I love basketball. But gun to my head, I have to pick one. I'm probably going football. And I'm not really comfortable answering college versus pro because I love them both, man. They both have different things that are good about them. If I had to rank it, I guess I'd go NFL number 1, college football number 2, NBA basketball number 3, and honestly, everything else is kind of in the same umbrella once we get past that. Hashtag Ask Mario. Favorite Mario game of all time? Man, there's been a lot of good ones, but I think I'll go more modern and go Super Mario Sunshine. I remember playing that game when GameCube first came out. It was a pretty hot item, and I enjoyed that game. And it was kind of a continuation of Nintendo 64 and the original Mario 64 because that was the first, I believe, platform game where you can kind of explore in 3 dimensions. So I enjoyed the GameCube version of that and Super Mario Sunshine, being able to do a little bit more. I think Super Mario Sunshine is probably going to be my favorite Mario game. Hashtag Ask Mario. Go-to summer alcoholic beverage. We answered that on OTB not too long ago. Definitely Corona with the lime. Corona with the lima is my favorite summertime drink. Hashtag Ask Mario. Best overall NBA uniforms franchise. Not a specific one. Oh, that one's tough. Who has the best jerseys? I'll answer that tomorrow. Give me a little time to think about that one. Thank you for participating. Hashtag Ask Mario. Thanks to all our guests. Thank you, Kay Wazan and Paul O'Neill. Stay tuned for AFR with Matt Moscona, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A
certified pre-owned vehicle means that it's been certified by factory-trained technicians. It meets a stringent criteria of over 155-point inspection. We want to make sure that vehicle is mechanically sound and that we have a warranty to back it up. There's no mileage limitation. You can be assured that you're driving a vehicle, you got a good value, you'll get that special financing, those special incentives on certain models, and some of the other amenities that you get with the certified pre-owned vehicle.